Have you ever lain awake, tormented by thoughts that feel unbreakable, only to discover they're mere illusions waiting to dissolve? What if the key to peaceful sleep isn't silencing your mind, but understanding its emptiness, as ancient Buddhist wisdom reveals? Imagine transforming your restless nights into profound stillness, where worries fade like mist under sunlight ready to let go. Now, I'll begin writing the content section by section in English, starting with Chapter 1, Section 1. Each section will be around 1,000 words, closely tied to the transcript's content on emptiness and related ideas. Unveiling emptiness, seeing thoughts as passing clouds. The illusion of solid thoughts. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world outside falls silent, the mind often awakens to its own chaos. Thoughts swirl like steam rising from a forgotten kettle, regrets from the day, fears unspoken, tasks left undone. You've been told that peace comes from escaping these thoughts, from forcing silence upon the mind, or finding the perfect conditions for rest. But as the transcript reveals, this approach only amplifies the inner noise. True peace, according to Buddhist wisdom, emerges not from battle but from revelation. Your thoughts are not solid truths, they are illusions, passing clouds in a vast sky. The transcript opens with a profound truth. You've been lied to about peace. They told you it comes from silence, from the right mattress, from escaping your thoughts. This deception keeps us trapped, eyes closed but minds racing. Why does the body feel exhausted while the thoughts run in circles? Because we treat thoughts as facts, as unchangeable realities that define us. Yet, Buddhist teaching, rooted in the concept of sunyata or emptiness, dismantles this illusion. Emptiness isn't a void of meaning, it's the absence of inherent fixed identity in anything. Thoughts feel heavy, sticky, real. They create emotional worlds in our chests. But what are they truly? Not things to hold, not external forces, but arising phenomena dependent on conditions like memory, fatigue, and self-image. Consider a nagging thought. I messed up. I'll never get it right. It arrives with a voice, a tightness in the body, a whole narrative of failure. In the transcript, it's described as not a thing. It can't be held. It's not outside you. This thought depends on past experiences and current tensions. Change the conditions, and it fades. Emptiness teaches that nothing stands alone. No worry, no regret arises independently. Everything is interconnected, a construction like a film projected in awareness. When we see this, the grip loosens. We stop fighting because there's nothing solid to push against. The transcript emphasizes, you simply see them and they dissolve. There is nothing to push away, because there is nothing to hold on to. This understanding shifts how we relate to the mind at night. We cling to thoughts not out of desire for suffering, but from a misguided belief they protect us. Worrying prepares us, overthinking solves problems. But as the Buddha taught, this never works. Instead, emptiness reveals even our self-identity as fluid, shaped by habits and dreams, not fixed. You're not the same you were 5 years ago, even yesterday. The transcript notes, why trust the inner voice claiming, this is just the way I am? It's a process, ever shifting. Seeing this creates space. Thoughts come but don't stick, like writing on water. At bedtime, this insight becomes practical medicine. The mind brings its loudest worries, insisting now is the time to solve them. But ask, where are these thoughts coming from? They loop without true origin, mere motion. Emptiness doesn't deny feelings. Sadness, fear, guilt are real, but movable, not walls. The transcript compares them to waves. We stop turning waves into walls. This clarity changes everything, from body tension, shortened breath, clenched jaw, to relational patterns. The body reacts to thoughts as threats, but seeing them as passing echoes allows release. Sleep arrives not forced, but naturally, as nothing remains to keep us awake. Drawing from Zen traditions, thoughts are visitors. Let them come and go, just don't serve them tea. Emptiness makes them weightless, not absent. Mindfulness here is key, not becoming blank, but recognizing mind's true nature. Clear, open, aware, with thoughts as weather. The Buddha likened thoughts to mirages, real-looking but empty when grasped. Suffering starts in chasing them, observation fades the illusion. In practice, lie down, feel the breath, notice thoughts, ask, what is this made of? Often, it's just energy, patterns dissolving under gaze. This seeing deepens nightly. New stories arise, but with more space, wisdom. Notice gaps between thoughts, silence beneath the awareness always present, vast like sky. Even when the thoughts are loud, that awareness is not empty in a sad way. It's empty like a wide open sky. Fear lessens, not just at night, but in life. As thoughts lose rulership, feelings aren't facts, you are the space holding them. Dreams lighten, sleep heals, trust returns. Peace isn't from fixing externals, but clear inner seeing. The transcript promises, by the end of this, you won't just be sleeping, you'll be still, at peace, whole. Emptiness breaks clinging to permanence. No thought eternal, no fear, final awareness holds more power. Rest in that, let emptiness carry you. This isn't abstract, it's ancient medicine for restless minds, melting unseen tension. As sunlight pierces mist, see through thoughts. Body relaxes, mind slows, shift occurs. Tonight, let go not of thoughts, but belief in their solidity. They pass, you remain spacious, free, still. Interdependence and conditions of worry. In the depths of night, when worries seem to solidify into unbreakable chains, have you ever paused to question their origin? What if the anxieties that keep you tossing and turning aren't inherent truths about your life, but fragile constructs built from fleeting conditions? Buddhist wisdom invites us to explore this interdependence, revealing that no thought stands alone. Each is a product of causes, ready to dissolve when those causes shift. The transcript delves deeply into this core principle of emptiness, or sunyata, emphasizing that nothing stands alone. No thought, no emotion, no belief arises by itself. Everything comes from something. Everything depends on something. This isn't mere philosophy, it's a practical lens for dismantling the restless mind. Consider the typical nighttime worry, fears of failure, rejection, or uncertainty. These feel vivid, almost tangible, creating a web of emotional turmoil that prevents sleep. But as the transcript explains, they are constructions, little films projected in your awareness. They depend on a chain of conditions, past memories, current fatigue, self-image distortions, even physical tension from the day. Change one link in that chain, and the worry loses its power. Interdependence is the heart of sunyata. In Sanskrit, sunyata isn't about a desolate void, but a liberating absence of independent existence. The transcript clarifies, the emptiness taught by the Buddha is not the absence of meaning, it's the absence of solid, unchangeable identity in anything at all. Thoughts arise because of interdependent factors. A regretful thought, for instance, might stem from a memory of a conversation gone wrong, amplified by exhaustion and a habitual self-critical pattern. Without these supports, it couldn't exist. This understanding cuts through the illusion that worries are permanent fixtures. They are conditional, like clouds forming from moisture and wind, temporary, ever-changing. Why does this matter for sleep? The transcript points out that we cling to thoughts because we believe they serve us. We cling because we believe these thoughts are protecting us, that worrying will prepare us, that overthinking will solve something. But this clinging only perpetuates suffering. Interdependence shows that even the self-doing, the worrying, is not fixed. Your identity is also a process shaped by memories, habits, fears, and dreams. And this too shifts. You're not inherently anxious or flawed. These are conditioned states. Recognizing this creates mental space. Thoughts may still arise, but they don't adhere. They pass like writing on water, there and gone. At night, the mind amplifies this interdependence. With distractions gone, we confront the raw flow of thoughts. The transcript describes, at night, the mind often brings its loudest worries. It thinks now is the time to solve them all. But probing their source reveals no true origin, just endless redirection, looping because thoughts are movement. That's all they are. Motion. Conditions like a stressful day or unresolved emotions fuel this motion. Emptiness teaches us to observe without solidifying. We don't cling because we want to suffer. We cling because we believe these thoughts are protecting us. Seeing their conditional nature loosens the grip. The anxiety about tomorrow, it depends on fear of the unknown, past failures, and current uncertainty. Alter your perspective through breath awareness or gentle inquiry, and it fades. The transcript offers a practical tool. When you really look, you'll find there's nothing there. Just energy, just patterns. This inquiry into conditions transforms worry. Ask, what conditions created this thought? Perhaps it's fatigue from lack of rest, or a self-image tied to productivity. By mapping these, you deconstruct the solidity. The body responds too. Your nervous system will feel this shift. The body listens to the mind. When the mind relaxes its grip, the body follows. Breath deepens, muscles soften, heartbeat slows, paving the way for rest. Buddhist texts reinforce this. The Buddha compared phenomena to dependent arising, pratitya samutpada, where everything exists in relation to causes and conditions. Thoughts are no exception. In the transcript, emptiness doesn't deny reality but contextualizes it. Emptiness doesn't mean we deny what we feel, it means we stop solidifying it. Sadness moves, fear isn't permanent, guilt isn't the whole self. This interdependent view liberates. The stories that play in your head at night about failure, rejection, uncertainty are not solid truths. They're not you. Over time, this practice deepens. Each night, meet worries with curiosity about their conditions, noticing the space between the thoughts, the silence beneath them, the awareness that's always present. Awareness itself is empty yet vast, not conditioned by thoughts. The transcript assures, you are not your anxiety. You are the space that holds it all. Dreams change, becoming less burdened. Sleep clarifies as unprocessed stress diminishes. Interdependence extends to identity. The I worrying is conditional, shaped by habits, not eternal. Why believe the voice in your head when it says, this is just the way I am? It's not. This insight fosters compassion. Worries arise from conditions, not personal failure. Release comes from seeing, not fighting. The transcript promises, when you see this, when you really see it, the grip of those thoughts loosens. You stop needing to fight them. In essence, worries are interdependent echoes, not rulers. By tracing conditions, we dissolve their hold. Rest emerges naturally as the mind unslings. Let this truth guide you. No worry independent, all conditional passing, freeing. In that seeing, peace unfolds, body relaxes, sleep invites itself. 2. Truths for disarming restless nights. As the night deepens and a stressful thought pierces the quiet, what if I fail tomorrow? Do you find yourself gripped by its weight, unable to release into sleep? What if this very thought, so commanding in the moment, could be held lightly, acknowledged without being enslaved by it? Buddhist wisdom offers the teaching of the two truths as a gentle disarmament, revealing that every restless worry exists on two levels: the conventional, where it feels real and urgent, and the ultimate, where it dissolves into impermanence, freeing the mind for true rest. The transcript introduces this profound concept as a cornerstone of understanding emptiness. There's a famous teaching in Buddhism called the Two Truths. It explains that we live with two kinds of reality, conventional truth and ultimate truth. Conventional truth is the everyday reality we navigate. I'm a person with a name, lying in bed, entangled in thoughts of the day. It's practical, necessary for functioning. Acknowledging a worry like, I'm not doing enough, as a valid feeling tied to responsibilities or relationships. Ultimate truth, however, pierces deeper, unveiling that all these labels and experiences are temporary constructions, like sand castles. They lack inherent solidity. They arise, shift, and fade based on conditions. Both truths coexist and are valid, but it's the ultimate truth rooted in sunyata that liberates from suffering, especially the nocturnal kind that keeps the mind churning. This duality is essential for disarming restless nights, because most insomnia stems from over-identifying with conventional truths alone. We treat thoughts as absolute. A fear of rejection becomes an unchangeable fact. A regret solidifies into self-definition. The transcript warns, the stories that play in your head at night about failure, rejection, uncertainty are not solid truths. They're not you. Without ultimate truth, we solidify waves into walls, turning passing mental events into barriers to sleep. But holding both truths creates balance. You honor the conventional. The emotion is here. It hurts while embracing the ultimate. It's not permanent, not the whole story, just a construction dependent on fleeting conditions. Practically, apply this when a restless thought arises. Take, they don't care about me, a common nighttime echo of loneliness or misunderstanding. Conventionally, recognize it. Yes, this stems from a real interaction, perhaps a curt response from a loved one, evoking sadness in the chest. Don't deny it. Suppression only amplifies. The transcript advises, you can acknowledge the feeling without letting it control you. Now, layer ultimate truth. This thought is a sand castle built from memory, fatigue, perhaps old insecurities, but lacking independent existence. It will erode as conditions change. Tomorrow's clarity or a simple conversation might dissolve it. Yes, this thought is here, but it's not solid. It's not forever. It's just passing through, as the transcript puts it. This dual holding disarms gently, no force, just perspective. The two truths extend from early Buddhist teachings, where the Buddha explained relative samvriti satya and absolute paramartha satya, realities. Conventional truth allows us to function in the world, using labels like self or worry. Ultimate truth reveals their emptiness, their interdependence, and impermanence. In the context of restlessness, this prevents escalation. Thoughts at night often loop because we engage only conventionally, analyzing or fighting them as fixed enemies. But ultimate truth interrupts. Nothing abides unchanging. The transcript likens thoughts to mirages or visitors. Thoughts are visitors. Let them come and go. Just don't serve them tea. By not solidifying, we make them weightless. For sleep, this disarmament has physiological ripple effects. When gripped by conventional truth alone, the body reacts, breath shortens, muscles tense. The nervous system stays vigilant against the threat of unresolved worry. But invoking ultimate truth signals safety. The thought is passing, no need to brace. Your body begins to relax the moment the mind stops clinging. The transcript notes. Breath deepens, jaw unclenches. Sleep becomes possible not through conquest but release. Even if thoughts persist, they lose power. You're not controlled, just observing temporary constructions. Deeper still, the two truths foster a shift in relating to the self. Conventionally, you're the warrior in bed, defined by anxiety. Ultimately, that self is a process, not fixed, shaped by habits but ever-changing. The transcript emphasizes, even the self you think you are is not fixed. This liberates from self-blame. Why believe the voice in your head when it says, this is just the way I am? It's not. Restless nights transform from battles to teachings, revealing how clinging to conventional labels perpetuates unrest. In practice, before bed, Gently hold arising thoughts with both truths. Feel the conventional emotion, then whisper the ultimate. This is real but movable, dependent, passing. Over time, this creates space. Thoughts arise but don't dominate. The transcript promises, this shift in seeing has the power to change everything. It doesn't just give you peace in the moment, it changes the entire way you relate to your experience. Dreams lighten, mornings dawn clearer, life feels less burdened by mental solidity. Ultimately, the two truths disarm by balancing acknowledgement with wisdom. No worry is denied, but none is enshrined. In emptiness is light, restless nights yield to stillness, not forced silence, but liberated flow. Rest in this duality. Thoughts pass like sand castles washing away, leaving the open sky of awareness. Mindfulness as clear seeing. In the hush of bedtime, when thoughts flicker like shadows on the wall, have you ever wondered if simply watching them could dissolve their hold? What if mindfulness wasn't about emptying the mind, but illuminating it with clear, unbiased seeing? Buddhist tradition teaches that this gentle observation transforms restless chatter into passing phenomena, inviting a profound stillness that welcomes sleep without struggle. The transcript positions mindfulness as the practical embodiment of emptiness. This insight doesn't require you to be a monk. You don't have to renounce the world or memorize ancient texts. You only need to see clearly. That's what mindfulness is, seeing with understanding. Far from a trendy relaxation technique, mindfulness, sati in Pali, is clear seeing, a direct engagement with the present moment that reveals the true nature of thoughts. It's not about becoming thoughtless or achieving a blank state, but recognizing mind's inherent clarity amid the flux. Thoughts arise as visitors, not rulers. Mindfulness welcomes them without entanglement, allowing them to reveal their emptiness. At its core, mindfulness counters the habit of solidification. We suffer when we chase or fix thoughts, treating them as mirages to grasp. The transcript draws from early Buddhist texts. The Buddha compared thoughts to mirages, like heat waves on a road. They look real, but when you try to hold them, there's nothing there. Suffering ignites in pursuit, trying to solve, control, or escape. Mindfulness shifts this. Observe until the illusion fades, noticing their shape, their tone, their origin without jumping in, like watching leaves float down a stream instead of trying to grab them all. This non-interfering gaze weakens belief in thought's power, as belief is what gives them power. For restless nights, mindfulness becomes a bedside companion. Instead of chasing peace, become aware. The transcript guides. Gently feel the breath. Notice the thoughts. Don't try to stop them. Just notice. Then inquire, what is this thought made of? This question pierces the mountain of worry, exposing it as energy, patterns conditional and empty. No need for effortful meditation, it's accessible insight. Buddhist meditation isn't about doing something to your thoughts, it's about looking at them until the illusion fades. In bed, this clear seeing grounds the mind, preventing loops of over-analysis. Mindfulness aligns with sunyata by highlighting interdependence. Thoughts don't arise in isolation, they depend on conditions like fatigue or unresolved emotions. Clear seeing reveals this without judgment. The transcript emphasizes, this kind of seeing doesn't get old, it deepens. Each night the mind may bring new stories, but each time you'll meet them with a little more space, a little more wisdom. Notice spaces between thoughts, the underlying silence awareness itself, empty yet vast. Even when the thoughts are loud, that awareness is not empty in a sad way. It's empty like a wide open sky. Physiologically, this fosters relaxation. The nervous system tunes to the mind's clarity. When thoughts are seen as passing, the body unwinds. Your breath gets deeper, the muscles soften, your heartbeat slows. And slowly, you're drawn into rest. Sleep emerges as a return to natural stillness, not escape. Mindfulness doesn't push thoughts away but illuminates their transience, allowing dissolution. Deeper, mindfulness uncovers the mind's true nature, clear, open, aware. The transcript notes, the true nature of mind, clear, open, and aware, with thoughts passing like weather across the sky. This isn't blankness but vibrant presence. In Zen terms, its thoughts are visitors observe without hospitality. The Buddha's analogy of mirages reinforces, chase them, suffer, observe, free. Practically, integrate by scanning sensations or noting thoughts' tone. In the early Buddhist texts, the Buddha compared thoughts to mirages. The suffering begins when we chase them. But if you just observe, the thoughts start losing their grip, not because they vanish, but belief does. For sleep, this means transitioning from wakefulness with awareness intact. Over time, fear diminishes not just nocturnal, but lifelong. The more you practice this, the less afraid you become, because you've seen the truth that thoughts are not rulers. You are the space holding all. Dreams evolve, sleep heals, trust rebuilds, peace from inner clarity, not external fixes. The transcript concludes this insight. You don't need to create it, you only need to notice it. Mindfulness, as clear seeing unlocks, emptiness is freedom, thoughts pass, stillness remains. Rest in that awareness, let it carry you into peace. Releasing clinging for natural stillness. What if the relentless grip of nighttime worries wasn't a battle to win, but a habit to gently release, allowing stillness to emerge on its own? Imagine lying in bed, not wrestling with thoughts, but watching them loosen and fade as the mind discovers its innate spaciousness. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true rest arises not from suppressing the mind, but from releasing our clinging to illusions of solidity, inviting a natural stillness that cradles us into sleep. The transcript illuminates clinging as the root of unrest. We don't cling because we want to suffer. We cling because we believe these thoughts are protecting us, that worrying will prepare us, that overthinking will solve something, that being hard on ourselves will make us better. It never does. Clinging isn't deliberate malice, it's a conditioned response, mistaking transient thoughts for safeguards. We hold on to regrets, fears, and self-criticism, convinced they shield us from uncertainty. Yet, this attachment only amplifies tension, turning the mind into a battlefield where sleep cannot settle. Emptiness, or sunyata, offers liberation by exposing clinging's futility. Thoughts lack inherent solidity, arising from conditions and dissolving when unsupported. Releasing clinging isn't rejection, it's recognition that there's nothing substantial to grasp. At the heart of this release is understanding the self's fluidity. The transcript explains, the understanding of sunyata reveals that even the self you think you are, the one lying there worrying, overanalyzing, aching for control, is not fixed. Your identity is also a process shaped by memories, habits, fears, and dreams. We cling to a rigid I, the failure, the worrier, the imperfect one, but this self is empty of permanence. It's a shifting construct, not eternal essence. You're not the same you were 5 years ago, even yesterday, the transcript reminds. Why cling to a voice declaring, "This is just the way I am"? It's a mirage. Seeing this erodes the need to control or perfect, creating space where thoughts arise without adhesion, like writing on water, there and gone. Practically, releasing clinging begins with awareness, not force. The transcript advises, you stop needing to fight them, you simply see them, and they dissolve. There is nothing to push away, because there is nothing to hold on to. In bed, notice the cling. A worry tightens the chest, acknowledge it, then inquire into its emptiness. What conditions birthed it? Memory, fatigue? It depends on these. Lacking independence. This seeing loosens the bond. The body mirrors. Your body begins to relax the moment the mind stops clinging. Breath lengthens, muscles unwind, as the illusion of threat fades. Sleep isn't conquered, It's something you fall into when you let go. Emptiness facilitates this by reframing clinging's objects. Thoughts feel protective, but their motion arising, passing. The transcript notes, if you were to ask your mind, where are these thoughts coming from? It wouldn't be able to answer, because the nature of thoughts is movement. Clinging solidifies this flow, but release allows it to continue unchecked. Emptiness doesn't mean we deny what we feel. It means we stop solidifying it. We stop turning waves into walls. Sadness, fear, guilt, real, yet movable. Hold them lightly. They shift, preventing the mind from bracing against impermanence. This release cultivates natural stillness. The transcripts promise, your mind finds space. Thoughts still come, but they don't stick. Stillness isn't manufactured silence, but inherent awareness, empty like sky, holding weather without disturbance. Noticing the space between the thoughts, the silence beneath them, the awareness that's always present. This awareness, unclimbed, is peaceful, vast, clear. No creation needed. You don't need to create it, you only need to notice it. In practice, lie down, feel breath, observe clinging without engagement. Ask, what am I holding? Gently let go, not erasing, but unbecoming attached. The transcript assures, when you see this, the grip of those thoughts loosens. Benefits unfold profoundly. Fear diminishes. The more you practice this, the less afraid you become, because you've seen the truth that thoughts are not rulers, feelings are not facts. You are the holding space. Dreams lighten, unburdened by clung stress. Sleep heals, rhythmic. Peace isn't from external fixes, but internal release. Peace comes from seeing clearly in here. The transcript echoes, no thought is permanent, no fear is final, and nothing in your mind has more power than your awareness of it. Ultimately, releasing clinging invites emptiness to carry you. You are already spacious, already free, already still. Rest in that. Let go and let the emptiness carry you. This isn't loss. It's return to natural stillness, where mind unslings, body rests, sleep arrives unforced. Tonight, release the grip thoughts pass, stillness remains. Heart's purification, cultivating inner qualities for peace. Loving kindness as a bedtime offering. As the day fades and unresolved tensions linger in your heart, what if a simple, intentional wish for well-being could melt away the heaviness, turning your bed into a sanctuary of warmth? Imagine offering kindness not as an obligation, but as a gentle bedtime ritual that eases the mind into restful surrender. In Buddhist teachings, loving kindness, or metta, serves as the first of the divine abodes, a quiet practice that purifies the heart before sleep, fostering a lightness that invites true peace. The transcript introduces the Brahma Viharas, the four immeasurable qualities, as transformative tools for the inner world. There are four qualities that can transform the entire landscape of your inner world. These four are called the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes. They are not beliefs. They are mental trainings. Loving kindness is the foundation, described not as romantic sentiment, but as a quiet wish for the well-being of self and others. It's an intentional generation of goodwill, even when warmth feels distant. The practice involves phrases like, "May you be safe," "May you be happy," "May you rest in ease," offered without force, simply as a vibration of care. This isn't about automatic emotion, it's choosing goodwill, starting with oneself, because, as the transcript notes, it's often the most neglected. Before sleep, this becomes a purifying offering. The day accumulates unprocessed residue, conversations that stung, resentments unspoken, moments of self-doubt. Left unchecked, these form knots that disturb rest, tightening in the subconscious. Loving kindness softens them. Loving kindness opens the channel of the heart. It doesn't erase pain, it changes how you hold it. By directing metta inward, may I be peaceful, may I release the tension I'm holding, may I rest fully tonight, you address the neglected self. This acknowledgement heals the armor worn all day, signaling safety to the nervous system. The body, no longer guarding, relaxes, breath deepens, preparing for sleep. The transcript emphasizes expansion, then you widen. Think of someone close, a friend, a teacher, a sibling. Offer the same wish. May you feel at ease. May you sleep without fear. May you be free from suffering. This shared humanity connects, reminding that your rest affects others. A peaceful heart sleeps lighter, less clung to resentment. Metta purifies not sin, but heaviness, mental noise, emotional friction. Each night, your mind takes with it everything unprocessed. But when met with these four immeasurable, those knots begin to soften. Loving kindness, as the first, sets the tone, infusing the night with care that echoes into dreams. In Buddhist tradition, metta is boundless, one of the immeasurable that expands the heart, vast like the ocean, able to hold whatever comes and let it pass. It's trained through repetition, not performance. The transcript advises, to practice this is not to feel warmth automatically, it's to intentionally generate a phrase, a thought, a vibration. No need to fix. Recognize interconnectedness. Even if phrases feel distant, especially amid pain, persistence opens channels. This aligns with the Buddha's teachings in the Metta Sutta, where loving kindness radiates to all beings, dissolving barriers between self and other. For bedtime, integrate as a final act. Lie down, close eyes, offer metta inward, then outward. May I be safe, may others be free, may we all rest in ease. This isn't achievement. The power is in the offering, the practice is in the return. It cleanses subtly, a layer lifts, contraction loosens. You carry less into sleep, dreams reflect more harmony. The transcript promises, this internal cleansing is subtle. You carry less, and that lightness affects not just your sleep, but your entire life. Loving kindness counters isolation that amplifies nighttime worries. By wishing well-being, you dissolve self-centered tension. You begin to see that even your rest affects others, that a peaceful heart sleeps not only better, but lighter. It doesn't cling or resent, it softens. Paired with breath, it becomes rhythmic inhale care, exhale release. Over time, the heart grows vast, holding pain without collapse. The transcript integrates this with overall purification. When all four are practiced together, the heart becomes vast. They make space where the mind once tightened. Loving kindness leads, opening to compassion, joy, equanimity. As a bedtime offering, it aligns heart with wisdom, turning rest into renewal. Let this be your final act before sleep. A quiet cleansing, a soft alignment, a silent kindness that echoes into the places words never reach. In essence, loving kindness as bedtime offering purifies, fostering peace that endures. When you wake tomorrow, the world may still be what it is, but your heart will be lighter. Offer it tonight. May you rest in ease. Compassion for unresolved pain. When the echoes of a painful day refuse to fade, leaving your heart heavy and your mind restless, what if turning toward that ache with gentle acknowledgement could finally allow it to soften? Imagine facing the unresolved hurts, not to drown in them, but to hold them with a wish for relief, transforming bedtime into a space of healing release. In the Buddhist path, compassion emerges as the second divine abode, a courageous quality that meets suffering directly, purifying the emotional knots that disrupt sleep, and inviting a profound ease that loving kindness alone cannot reach. The transcript positions compassion as an essential extension of the Brahma Viharas. The second quality is compassion. This is the wish to be free from suffering not just for yourself, but for all. While loving kindness says, may you be happy, compassion says, may your pain ease. It's rooted in connection, in the courage to feel. Unlike Metta's focus on well-being, compassion, karuna in Pali, confronts pain head-on, not to fix or erase it, but to recognize its presence with care. It's the heart's response to dukkha, suffering in all forms, the subtle sadness silenced during the day, the unspoken grief from a loss, or the empathy for another's unseen struggles. This isn't passive pity, it's active connection, requiring bravery to feel without being overwhelmed. The transcript emphasizes, before sleep this means turning toward what still hurts. Not to wallow, but to acknowledge. Unresolved pain often hides in the quiet of night, manifesting as tightness in the heart or a mood that colors rest. These don't always show up in dreams. They show up in tone, the mood you carry into the night. And that tone shapes your rest, the transcript notes. Daily life builds protective layers, armor against vulnerability that keep us guarded even in bed. Compassion breaks through that. It tells the heart it's okay to feel. You're allowed to care. And you don't have to carry it all alone. By acknowledging what was avoided, what were you avoiding today? What sadness did you silence? Who do you know that's hurting? You create space for release. This isn't about solving the world's woes. Compassion doesn't demand you solve anything. It simply asks you not to look away. In practice, compassion as a bedtime offering involves gentle reflection and phrases. Lie down, scan the day for lingering pain, perhaps a misunderstanding at work, self-doubt from unmet goals, or concern for a loved one's hardship. Whisper, I see this pain. May it ease for me, for you, for all beings. This touches deeply, allowing the heart to open without judgment. The transcript describes, this touches something deep. It allows the protective armor to drop, the kind you've worn all day without knowing it. As armor falls, the nervous system receives safety signals. As that message settles, sleep becomes safer because the body no longer needs to defend. The nervous system receives a signal that it can let go. Compassion integrates with the other viharas, preventing overwhelm. Paired with loving kindness, it adds depth. Metta wishes happiness, karuna eases pain. Without equanimity, it risks burnout. Without joy, it may dwell in sorrow. The transcript highlights balance. Equanimity also protects the heart. It keeps compassion from becoming burnout, loving kindness from becoming attachment. Together, they cleanse. When all four are practiced together, the heart becomes vast, not sentimental, not performative, vast, like the ocean. For unresolved pain, compassion purifies by facing it, reducing subconscious knots that disturb dreams or shallow sleep. Buddhist texts, like the Karanina Metta Sutta, extend compassion universally, cultivating it through meditation to dissolve barriers. The transcript adapts this for nightly use. No elaborate ritual, just willingness. You don't need to fix the world in your mind, you only need to see it clearly and respond with care. This fosters connection. Pain isn't isolating, it's shared humanity. Even if phrases feel mechanical at first, persistence transforms, acknowledgement purifies. Over time, the heart lightens, carrying less into rest. You carry less, and that lightness affects not just your sleep, but your entire life. Benefits for sleep are tangible. Unresolved pain tightens the body, shortened breath, clenched muscles, but compassion softens. The body no longer needs to defend. Dreams become less dense with emotional residue. Mornings dawn with clarity. The transcript promises, when the heart softens, the mind follows. The four immeasurable make space inside you. Compassion, specifically, heals by embracing pain, not averting it, turning bedtime into renewal. In essence, compassion for unresolved pain is courageous care, acknowledging without fixing, wishing ease without demand. May your pain ease, offered nightly, purifies the heart, inviting peace that endures. As the transcript concludes, this is the practice, this is the purification, this is peace, empathetic joy in releasing envy. Have you ever scrolled through images of others' successes late at night, only to feel a subtle tightness in your chest that keeps sleep at bay? What if celebrating their joy without comparison could dissolve that envy, freeing your heart to rest in quiet satisfaction. In the tapestry of Buddhist heart practices, empathetic joy stands as a radiant quality, often overlooked, yet powerful in purifying the mind of scarcity and competition, allowing a boundless lightness to infuse your nights with true peace. The transcript highlights empathetic joy, or mudita, as the third Brahma Vihara, a vital counter to hidden tensions. The third quality is empathetic joy. This one is often overlooked, but it is just as powerful. It's the ability to celebrate without comparison, to feel glad for others' happiness, their success, their ease without needing it to be your own. Unlike loving kindness or compassion, which focus on well-being and suffering, mudita rejoices in goodness, releasing the subtle poisons of envy and scarcity that disrupt inner harmony. It's not forced positivity but a trained response. Empathetic joy trains the mind to say, "I'm glad you are well, I'm happy you're thriving, I rejoice in your joy." This frees from comparison loops the tension from scrolling through images of other people's lives, the pressure of measuring your worth against someone else's, opposites, the tightness of not enough. At night, envy often creeps in uninvited, fueled by reflections on the day or social glimpses. The transcript notes, at night, this means releasing the subtle competition that often goes unspoken. Envy solidifies into restlessness, dreams haunted by lack, body tense with craving. Mudita purifies by shifting perspective. Rejoice in others' joy as if it expands your own. This frees the mind from envy, from scarcity, from that never-ending loop of "I should be further ahead." Practice begins with acknowledgement. Recall someone's success, a colleague's promotion, a friend's happiness without resentment. Offer, "I'm glad you are well. I rejoice in your joy." This isn't denial. It's reorientation, recognizing abundance. Empathetic joy extends to self. Empathetic joy also means rejoicing in your own joy without guilt. Acknowledge the good. The breath that flowed easier today, the moment you smiled, the fact that you're here practicing, even if it's hard, that matters. Celebrate small victories, a kind word given, a challenge met, infusing the night with satisfaction. This quality infuses the night with a sense of quiet satisfaction, not from achieving, but from being, from seeing the beauty in ordinary things. Releasing envy through mudita prevents craving from disturbing sleep. You don't dream of what's missing, you sleep in what's here. In Buddhist teachings, mudita is immeasurable, boundless like the others, countering ill will's opposites. The transcript integrates it. When all four are practiced together, they expand you, they open what was closed. Mudita balances without it. Compassion may sink into sorrow, loving kindness into attachment. It protects from burnout, fostering a heart vast like the ocean. For envy, it's medicine. Trace its roots in comparison, then replace with joy. The more you practice this, the more your rest is not disturbed by craving. Practically, before bed, reflect on joys encountered, yours or others. Offer phrases silently. May joy grow where pain once lived. If envy arises from social media or memories, meet it with mudita. I rejoice in your thriving. This subtle shift cleanses. A layer lifts, a contraction loosens. The body responds, tension eases, breath steadies as scarcity's grip fades. Over time, dreams reflect harmony. Mornings bring openness. The transcript assures, these four immeasurable are called boundless for a reason. They expand you. Mudita releases envy by celebrating shared goodness, turning nights into renewal. Let this be your final act before sleep. When you wake tomorrow, your heart will be lighter. Embrace empathetic joy, release envy, rest in abundance, equanimity in letting go of control. In the quiet vulnerability of bedtime, when the mind clings desperately to unfinished plans and uncertain outcomes, what if a balanced acceptance could finally release that grip, allowing your heart to rest without the weight of endless striving? Picture surrendering not out of defeat, but from a profound clarity that sees all things as they rise and fall, transforming your nights from battles for control into serene spaces of trust. Within the Brahma Viharas, equanimity emerges as the anchoring force, a deep stability that purifies by embracing impermanence, freeing you to let go and inviting a peace that no amount of forcing can achieve. The transcript presents equanimity, or pechka, as the fourth and culminating divine abode, essential for balance. The final quality is equanimity. This is the deep stability of mind that sees clearly without being shaken. It is not cold detachment, it is presence without bias. It knows that all things rise and fall, and it trusts that truth. Unlike the warmth of loving kindness, the tenderness of compassion, or the uplift of empathetic joy, equanimity provides the steady ground, a mind that observes without clinging to pleasure or resisting pain. It's the quiet anchor in life's moving sea, preventing the other qualities from tipping into extremes, loving kindness from attachment, compassion from burnout, joy from craving. Equanimity also protects the heart. It keeps compassion from becoming burnout, loving kindness from becoming attachment, joy from becoming craving. Before sleep, equanimity becomes a profound practice in letting go of control, addressing the subtle tyrannies that disrupt rest. The day often ends with loose ends, plans derailed, words misspoken, futures unshaped, fueling a need for certainty that tightens the mind. The transcript captures this. Before sleep, equanimity becomes a gentle letting go of control. The plans that didn't work out, the words that didn't land right, the outcomes you didn't get to shape. We brace against what might go wrong, turning the bed into a planning ground rather than a resting place. Equanimity intervenes with clarity. Equanimity says, this too is part of the path. May I meet it with balance. This isn't resignation or indifference. It's wisdom, recognizing impermanence. All rises and falls, no outcome permanent. By releasing the illusion of control, you stop resisting reality, allowing the heart to open without bias. This letting go purifies deeply, as clinging to control breeds friction, mental noise that echoes into sleeplessness. The transcript explains, this isn't resignation, it's clarity, the kind that allows you to release the need for certainty, the kind that lets the body stop bracing for what might go wrong. Equanimity trains the mind to trust unfolding, not demand perfection. In bedtime reflection, acknowledge the day's uncertainties, a project incomplete, a relationship strained. Instead of looping worries, offer, may I hold this moment with balance. This presence without preference dissolves tension. The nervous system, no longer in defense, signals rest. Breath evens, muscles relax, sleep arrives as natural rhythm, not forced achievement. Buddhist teachings root equanimity in insight into anicca, impermanence, and anatta, non-self, seeing phenomena without grasping. The transcript aligns, it is a mind that doesn't cling to pleasure or resist pain. It knows that all things rise and fall. Control is an ego's illusion. Equanimity reveals it, fostering freedom. You begin to rest not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer resisting what is. This protects the heart's vastness, holding the viharas in equilibrium. Without it, efforts become unbalanced. With it, the heart expands vast like the ocean, able to hold whatever comes and let it pass. Practically, cultivate equanimity nightly. Lie down, reflect on controllable and uncontrollable. For what eluded grasp a missed deadline, an unresolved argument whisper, this too rises and falls. May I meet it with balance. Feel the release, no need to fix now. The transcript assures, this internal cleansing is subtle. You may not notice it all at once, but each night you practice, something clears, a layer lifts, a contraction loosens. Over time, the mind steadies, carrying less into dreams. Rest deepens, not from perfection, but acceptance. Equanimity's power lies in its quiet strength presence that trusts. When all four are practiced together, they soften the boundary between self and other, between thought and presence, between wakefulness and deep healing rest. In letting go of control, equanimity completes purification, turning nights into alignment. The transcript promises, your heart will be lighter, your mind will be steadier. Embrace it, release control, rest in balance. Brahma Viharas as emotional cleansing. As the fragments of the day settle like dust in your mind, refusing to let sleep arrive, what if invoking four timeless qualities could quietly wash away the emotional residue, leaving your heart open and your rest profound? Envision your bedtime not as a struggle against inner turmoil, but as a ritual of gentle purification, where kindness, compassion, joy, and balance converge to dissolve the knots that bind you. In the profound framework of Buddhist practice, the Brahma Viharas serve as a complete system for emotional cleansing, transforming the heart's heaviness into vast spaciousness, ensuring that your nights become a gateway to healing rather than a repository for unresolved pain. The transcript weaves the four divine abodes, loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, empathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, pechka, into a unified practice of inner transformation. These four are called the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes. They are not beliefs, they are mental trainings. And when practiced before sleep, they become purification, not of sin or guilt, but of heaviness, of mental noise, of emotional friction. Far from abstract ideals, these qualities are practical tools, cultivated through intention and repetition, to address the unprocessed remnants that accumulate daily. Each night, your mind takes with it everything unprocessed. That last conversation, that resentment, that moment you wished had gone differently. If left unexamined, these become knots. Knots that tighten in the subconscious, knots that disturb rest. The Brahma Viharas meet these directly, softening them not through force or analysis, but by returning to the heart's innate wisdom. When practiced together, the Viharas create a synergistic cleansing, each supporting the others in a balanced flow. Loving kindness opens with goodwill, wishing safety and ease, starting inward to heal self-neglect. Compassion then turns toward pain, acknowledging suffering without looking away, easing the armor of defense. Empathetic joy celebrates goodness, releasing envy and scarcity to infuse satisfaction. Equanimity anchors all, providing stability to see rising and falling without bias, letting go of control. The transcript emphasizes their integration. When all four are practiced together, kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, the heart becomes vast, not sentimental, not performative, vast like the ocean, able to hold whatever comes and let it pass. This vastness is the essence of emotional cleansing, expanding beyond contraction, dissolving boundaries between self and other, thought and presence, wakefulness and rest. Emotional cleansing via the Viharas is subtle yet transformative, addressing the friction that manifests as restlessness. The heart often holds tightness, bitterness unvoiced, sadness unspoken, shaping sleep's quality. What the body can release, the heart often holds. And it's here in this quiet space before sleep that one of the most powerful practices unfolds. Rather than fighting these, the Viharas invite offering, sit, lie down, or close your eyes and offer these qualities inward. May I be safe, may others be free, may we all rest in ease. May joy grow where pain once lived. May I hold this moment with balance. This isn't about achieving emotion. There's nothing you need to achieve, no emotion you need to feel. The power is in the offering. The practice is in the return. Each repetition purifies, lifting layers. A resentment softens under compassion, envy fades with joy, control yields to equanimity, all warmed by kindness. In Buddhist tradition, the Brahma Viharas are immeasurable, apam ana, boundless in scope, radiating outward like light. The transcript adapts this for nightly use. These 4 immeasurable are called boundless for a reason. They expand you. They open what was closed. They make space where the mind once tightened. They soften the boundary between self and other, between thought and presence, between wakefulness and deep healing rest. This boundless nature cleanses by inclusivity, no pain excluded, no joy withheld, preventing the heart from closing. For emotional residue, it's revolutionary. Don't fight with your thoughts. Don't wrestle with memory. Don't try to force peace. Instead, meet them with the viharas, turning purification into alignment. Practically, weave them into bedtime. Reflect on the day's emotional tones, what hurt, what delighted, what lingered. Offer phrases sequentially. Start with metta for self and others, move to karuna for pains seen, mudita for joys shared, pechka for balance in all. May I be peaceful. I see this pain. May it ease. I'm glad for your thriving. This too rises and falls. This quiet act echoes deeply. A silent kindness that echoes into the places words never reach. The cleansing is gradual. You may not notice it all at once, but each night you practice, something clears yet cumulative, reducing subconscious burdens. Dreams lighten, body releases, sleep deepens as the heart carries less. Benefits extend beyond nights. When you wake tomorrow, the world may still be what it is, but your heart will be lighter, your mind will be steadier, and something inside will know. I didn't carry it all with me. I let it go. The viharas foster resilience, turning emotional cleansing into lifelong peace. This is the practice. This is the purification. This is peace. As boundless trainings, they heal by expansion, making the heart a refuge. In essence, the Brahma Viharas as emotional cleansing dissolve heaviness through integrated offering, creating vastness where tightness once ruled. Embrace them nightly, purify, release, rest, renewed. Body and transitions, sleep as sacred ground. Body scanning for grounded awareness. When the mind races with unanchored thoughts, pulling you further from sleep's embrace, what if returning to the simple sensations of your body could root you firmly in the present, quieting the storm within? Imagine lying in stillness, not judging the tightness or fatigue, but gently observing each part of yourself, allowing awareness to ground you like an anchor in turbulent waters. In Buddhist practice, body scanning emerges as a foundational tool for mindfulness, transforming disconnection into presence and turning the bed into a space where restlessness yields to deep, restorative calm. The transcript underscores the body's role as the starting point for awareness, especially in the transition to sleep. The body is still, the breath is slow, awareness has softened its edges. The body waits. It doesn't argue. It doesn't demand answers. It speaks quietly through sensation, through tension, through breath. Often, sleeplessness appears mental stress, overthinking, but its roots lie in bodily disconnection. When sleep doesn't come, the reason often appears to be mental stress. But what allows those mental patterns to grow wild is disconnection from the body. Body scanning, drawn from Vipassana traditions and the Buddha's teachings on Kayanupassana, contemplation of the body, addresses this by directing attention to sensations, grounding the mind in direct experience. It's not about analysis or judgment. This isn't about judging the body. It's about knowing it, not as an idea, but as living experience through direct, sustained observation of the body as it is. In essence, body scanning involves moving awareness systematically through the body, from crown to toes, noting sensations without labeling or altering them. The transcript describes, body scanning, as taught in Vipassana traditions, is one way to enter this contemplation. It involves moving attention slowly, part by part, through the body, not to find what's wrong, but to simply feel what is there. Every part is included. Nothing is left out. Start at the head, feel the scalp's tingle, forehead's pressure, eyes' subtle movements, then descend, neck, shoulders, arms, torso, legs, feet. Sensations vary: warmth, coolness, heaviness, tingling, tightness. The key is inclusivity and kindness. Scan slowly, not with control but with kindness. Start from the toes, noticing, not labeling, just letting each part of you know, I'm here. This attention isn't mental but grounding, making the body feel seen and safe. Why does this foster grounded awareness? Disconnection fragments experience, the mind floats in thoughts, ignoring the body's signals. Scanning merges these. Through this inclusive attention, something powerful happens. Fragmentation dissolves. Normally the mind sees the body in pieces: my sore back, my tired legs, my aching head. But when you practice Kayanupassana, these pieces start to merge. You begin to experience the body not as parts, but as a continuous field of sensation. This field reveals impermanent sensations: rise, change, fade. A sharp pain dulls, heaviness warms. This field is always changing, rising and falling, tingling and releasing, warm and cool. And observing this change directly trains the mind in the truth of impermanence. Grounded in this, thoughts lose dominance. As the mind sees this clearly, its restlessness begins to calm. Thoughts feed on resistance. When you resist tension in the body, the mind tightens. For sleep, this practice is invaluable, aligning mind with body's rhythms. This also affects how you fall asleep. When scanning the body, sleep often arrives without warning, not because you forced it, but because the mind became aligned with the rhythms of the body. The brain ceases searching for resolution, following sensation instead. Even in wakefulness, rest occurs. Even when sleep doesn't come right away, this practice creates rest. Deep rest, the kind that nourishes the body even in stillness. Because presence, not unconsciousness, is what heals. The nervous system softens when felt. When attention is brought to the body without judgment, the signals of stress begin to slow. Deeper benefits include sensitivity and insight. Another benefit of Kayanupassana is the development of sensitivity. Over time, you begin to feel more, not in an overwhelming way, but in a clear way. You notice small tensions before they grow. This attunement reveals mind-body links. A worry tightens the forehead, resentment clenches the jaw. A stressful memory creates tightness in the chest. When seen clearly, these reactions become teachers. Hidden emotions surface: grief in the throat, fear in the belly released through presence. The body doesn't need fixing, it needs presence. Awareness is what clears the residue. In the broader context of transitions, body scanning grounds awareness amid change. As sleep nears, identity blurs. Scanning tethers you, fostering trust. The practice also shows you where you're holding emotional residue. By scanning slowly, these hidden impressions come to light, not to overwhelm you, but to be met, felt, released. Patience develops. Stay with discomfort, watch it evolve. Discomfort changes. Nothing stays fixed. This teaches trust. It also teaches patience. Patience is not passive. It is the willingness to remain present with what is without forcing a different experience. The transcript ties this to the four foundations: body as first, leading to feelings, mind, dharmas. Yet scanning stands alone as entry. Kayanupassana also teaches you to stay with sensation even when it's unpleasant. You are not fixing anything. You are witnessing the body return to balance in its own way. Over time, the bed becomes retreat. You stop treating the body like a machine. You start treating it like a friend. This relationship shifts your approach to rest. Rest is no longer something you earn. It is something you allow. Ultimately, body scanning grounds awareness, purifying disconnection into wholeness. The practice is the result. The practice is the resting. As sensations flow, impermanence reveals, tension releases, sleep invites. Ground yourself tonight. Scan, observe, rest in presence. Impermanence in sensations and breath. As you lie in the quiet of night, feeling the subtle rise and fall of your breath amid fleeting sensations. Have you ever noticed how nothing stays the same? Not the warmth in your limbs, not the thoughts drifting by. What if embracing this constant change could free you from the grip of restlessness, allowing your body and mind to settle into a deeper, more healing rest? In the heart of Buddhist contemplation, impermanence reveals itself through the body's sensations and breath, teaching us that all experiences are transient waves, not fixed barriers, guiding us toward a sleep that flows naturally with life's rhythm. The transcript emphasizes impermanence, anicca, as a core truth woven into the fabric of existence, particularly evident in the body's ever-shifting landscape. Sleep is impermanent. Thought is impermanent. Identity is impermanent. The body is impermanent. To rest deeply, you have to stop pretending they're not. This isn't a philosophical abstraction, but a lived insight that transforms how we relate to sensations and breath, especially during the vulnerable transition to sleep. Sensations, tightness, warmth, tingling are not static. They arise, peak, and dissolve, mirroring the breath's rhythmic flow. By observing this, we release the illusion of permanence that fuels clinging and resistance, which often manifest as bodily tension, keeping us awake. The body is of the nature to change. The transcript echoes in the 5 remembrances, reminding us that denying impermanence exhausts us, while embracing it allows true release. In body contemplation, kayanupassana, impermanence shines through sensations. As you scan, notice how each feeling evolves. A heaviness in the chest lightens, a throb in the temples fades, warmth spreads or cools. The transcript describes, this field is always changing, rising and falling, tingling and releasing, warm and cool. And observing this change directly trains the mind in the truth of impermanence. This isn't passive watching, but active insight. Sensations depend on conditions like posture, temperature, or emotional residue. A clenched jaw from daily stress might tighten, then soften as awareness lingers. Impermanence teaches that discomfort isn't eternal. Discomfort changes. Nothing stays fixed. A sharp pain becomes a dull throb. A heaviness becomes warmth. A tightness releases. This revelation builds trust. The body knows balance, needing only space to shift, preventing the mind from solidifying pain into a permanent state. The breath, as the body's most constant yet changeable rhythm, embodies impermanence vividly. Even the breath becomes more natural. As awareness touches each area of the body, the breath adjusts. It deepens, it softens without force, without instruction. The transcript notes, breath isn't controlled but observed, incoming coolness, outgoing warmth, pauses in between. Each cycle demonstrates transience. An inhale builds, peaks, yields to exhale. Depths vary with tension or relaxation. In anti-parasitic mindfulness of breathing, this becomes a gateway. Let the breath be your final anchor. It simply moves. And that movement, when seen, clearly becomes more than a bodily function. It becomes refuge. Impermanence in breath counters the ego's grasp, trying to deepen or steady. It forcibly creates resistance. Instead, witness its natural flux. The breath responds to safety, and attention is safety. As conditions change, body relaxes, mind quiets, breath evolves, signaling the nervous system to unwind. This insight into impermanence disarms restlessness at its root. We suffer by treating sensations and breath as fixed pain, as unending threat, shallow breath as failure. But seeing their changeability loosens identification. You are not your discomfort. You are the observer, not the thinker. The transcript ties this to broader truths. All these labels, all these experiences, are temporary constructions, like sand castles. In the body, this means no sensation defines you. A restless leg twitches, then stills. A racing heart slows. Observing this change directly trains the mind in the truth of impermanence. As the mind sees this clearly, its restlessness begins to calm. Thoughts, too, reveal their ephemerality when anchored in bodily impermanence, arising with a sensation, fading as it shifts. For transitions to sleep, impermanence in sensations and breath is sacred. Sleep itself is change. Sleep is a state of change, of letting go, of softening identity. Your usual sense of me starts to fade. The boundaries blur. The mind unwinds. Clinging to permanence, demanding steady breath or absent discomfort blocks this. But observing flux fosters surrender. To rest deeply, you have to stop pretending they're not impermanent. Breath guides. Let the breath guide you. Let the body hold you. Let awareness stay not as watcher but as presence, as silence, as space. Each inhale-exhale cycle mirrors life's impermanence, easing the shift from wakefulness. Practically, integrate this in scanning. Focus on breath alongside sensations. Feel chest rise, impermanence building. Fall, releasing. Note how breath influences sensations deeper. Inhales ease tightness. The breath is your companion here. It does not have to be deep or slow, just noticed. Each inhale is a new beginning. Each exhale a release. In discomfort, watch change. You are witnessing the body return to balance in its own way. This cultivates patience. Patience is the willingness to remain present with what is without forcing a different experience. Over time, this deepens sensitivity. You also become more attuned to how the body reacts to thought. A stressful memory creates tightness in the chest. When seen clearly, these reactions become teachers. Impermanence reveals mind-body interdependence. Sensations shift with thoughts. Breath calms both. Emotional residue surfaces. Unspoken grief might sit in the throat. Unfelt anger might tighten the fists. Awareness is what clears the residue. No fixing. Presence allows dissolution. In the 5 remembrances, impermanence grounds reality. Body ages, falls ill, changes sensations, and breath reflect this daily. Knowing that you will die helps you stop wasting time pretending otherwise. For sleep, it means releasing pretense of control. Breath impermanent, sensations fleeting, let go. The transcript promises, this shift is quiet, but it's powerful because it breaks the oldest habit we have. Believing that peace comes from fixing everything out there. Peace comes from seeing clearly in here. Impermanence in sensations, and breath frees from solidity, inviting natural stillness. Nothing more is needed. You're already home. Observe tonight. Sensations change like waves. Breath flows transiently. Rest in that truth. Sleep follows. Bards, nightly rehearsal for letting go. In the liminal space between wakefulness and sleep, where identity begins to blur and the familiar world fades, have you ever sensed an opportunity not just for rest, but for profound training in release? What if each night offered a gentle rehearsal for life's greatest transitions, teaching you to let go without fear, mirroring the art of dying with grace? Drawing from Tibetan Buddhist wisdom, the bards, the in-between states transform. Sleep from mere unconsciousness into a sacred ground for cultivating awareness, where nightly dissolution becomes a powerful practice in surrendering to impermanence and finding freedom in the unknown. The transcript introduces the bards as transitional thresholds rich with potential. The Tibetan view teaches that the mind is always in motion, always cycling through clarity and confusion, through grasping and letting go. The bards are moments where the habitual patterns pause just enough for transformation to become possible. Derived from the Tibetan Book of the Dead and Vajrayana teachings, bardo means in-between state, encompassing any passage most famously between death and rebirth, but also daily ones like the shift into sleep, the moment before sleep, the moment the self dissolves and another form of experience takes over. This bow is a training ground. It mirrors death in structure, but without finality. Every night replicates this. Thoughts slow, senses withdraw, awareness detaches from the ordinary. The moment you lie down and begin to fall asleep is similar to the moment of death. Your thoughts slow, your awareness begins to withdraw from the senses, the feeling of solidity begins to shift. This nightly bardo isn't random, it's a rehearsal for letting go, preparing the mind for uncertainty. The transcript explains, sleep is not simply rest, it is movement through subtle states. Just as death is not the end but a shift into new conditions, sleep too is a process of change. Transitions abound from waking to dreaming, dreaming to deep sleep, sleep to waking, each a threshold where patterns loosen. These are openings, and sleep is full of them. In the bardo before sleep, called the chai bo by some, consciousness detaches. It is subtle, a shift, not a break. If the mind is trained to remain aware as the body sleeps, it begins to see this shift, the loss of sensory input, the floating quality of thought, the gradual slide into something else. Here, the ego resists grasping identity, fearing loss, but practice turns resistance into presence. Letting go in the bards requires mindful observation, not control. You can begin to train for this by observing the process of falling asleep, not fighting it, not trying to force lucidity, but watching, letting go without losing attention, allowing the thoughts to soften while the awareness remains. The mind may cling or collapse, but balance emerges. Rest gently in between. As you feel sleep coming, allow yourself to observe it. Watch the edge. Watch how the sense of self starts to thin out. Let the ego rest. Let the identity fade. Breath tethers. Bring attention to the breath not as a technique but as a tether. Let the breath guide you as awareness begins to float. Don't hold it too tightly. Don't fall into dullness. If thoughts arise, let them pass. You are not trying to analyze. You are simply watching the process of falling asleep as if it were a sacred event, because it is. This rehearsal mirrors death's bardo, where self dissolves, body left behind, consciousness enters the unknown. Learning to stay aware during sleep prepares the mind to stay aware during the biggest transition of all. If you can recognize dream as dream, you can recognize illusion as illusion. The transcript clarifies, this is not meant to create anxiety, it is offered as a doorway to freedom. Because when you begin to see that death and sleep share the same structure, you stop fearing both. Awareness stays, transforming fear into clarity. To sleep consciously is to die consciously, and to die consciously, even in small ways, is to live without clinging. The bard's potential lies in gaps where habits pause. In transitional states, the patterns loosen. There's a gap, and in that gap, you can plant new seeds. You can interrupt old tendencies. In sleep's bardo, observe urges to ruminate, fear, stillness, seek control and release. This builds a kind of flexibility in the mind, a willingness to stay open even in uncertainty. This trains death readiness compassionately. Every night the sense of self dissolves, the body is left behind, consciousness enters unknown territory. This is similar to the process of dying, yet it's for living. The bards are not just about death, they are about living well. Now they are about learning to trust the movement of life, the process of letting go, the grace of not knowing. Patterns emerge with practice. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. How certain emotions arise before sleep, how fear or resistance shows up, how letting go doesn't happen all at once, but in stages. This becomes a map. Treat the transition with reverence, not with fear, not with control, but with deep respect. No perfection needed. You don't have to perfect this. You don't have to succeed every night. Even one moment of awareness in the bow before sleep plants a seed. The Tibetan tradition calls it the clear light of sleep, open consciousness, undistracted. In broader context, bards align with foundations of mindfulness and impermanence. All states arise, shift, and fall away. This includes the states of sleep, dream, deep rest, waking again. All are impermanent. What matters is meeting them with grasping or clarity. You are practicing for the greatest truth. You are learning to release what was never really yours to begin with. And as you let go, you are not losing yourself. You are returning to something more spacious, something more honest, something that was always there beneath the noise. The transcript promises, let sleep carry you, let the bow teach you, let awareness stay. This is not the end, this is another beginning. Nightly bards rehearse letting go, turning sleep. Sacred fear dissolves, presence endures. Enter tonight's bardo, mindfully observe, release, awaken, renewed. Dream yoga and karmic mirrors. As the veil of sleep draws near, and your consciousness shifts into the symbolic realm of dreams, have you ever wondered if those nightly visions are more than random chaos? Perhaps mirrors reflecting your deepest patterns, ready to be transformed. What if engaging with dreams mindfully could unravel karmic imprints, turning the subconscious into a field of healing and insight? In the profound tradition of Yogacara and Tibetan Buddhism, dream yoga emerges as a sacred practice, where dreams become karmic mirrors, offering a path to lucidity and liberation that extends awareness beyond waking life into the heart of rest. The transcript delves into the transformative potential of dreams, viewing them not as escapes but as extensions of consciousness. The teachings say that dreams are not illusions to be dismissed. They are mirrors. They are messengers. And when met with awareness, they become medicine. Rooted in Yogacara philosophy, which posits that all experience is a display of mind, dreams are seen as projections of the subconscious, rich with karmic ripples. According to Yogacara, what you call reality is a display of consciousness itself. That includes the night, that includes the dream, and what happens there isn't separate from who you are. The mind doesn't halt its creative karmic activity in sleep. In fact, some of its most creative and karmic activity happens after you've surrendered the day. Layers of impressions, attachments, aversions, fears rise symbolically, expressing what waking life suppresses. Dream yoga isn't about control or entertainment. Dream yoga is not about control. It's not about having fun inside your dreams or escaping from reality. It's about learning to recognize the dream as dream while it's happening, to bring lucidity into that space. Not just to manipulate it, but to understand it, to meet it with the same mindfulness you bring to breath, to let it show you what's been hidden. Lucidity, knowing you're dreaming, allows transformation. When lucidity begins, when you find yourself dreaming and know it, you don't have to rush, you don't have to do anything. Just rest in that knowing. Let the dream continue. Watch what the mind creates and see it not as real, but as projection. People, places, fears, desires, all consciousness's fabrications. When you realize this fully, even inside a dream, transformation begins. Karmic patterns can unwind in dreams. Karmic mirrors reflect unresolved habits. The subconscious is not the enemy, but it is layered. Years of impressions, attachments, aversions, unresolved fears, all of it lives below the surface. And during sleep, those layers move, they rise, they express themselves. Dreams aren't random, they are karmic ripples, and awareness inside the dream can transform them. A recurring nightmare of falling might mirror fear of loss. Lucid, meet it with compassion, discharging emotion. You may find yourself reliving old situations, this time with awareness. You may meet people who trigger strong emotion, this time with compassion. You may face fears, this time without running. The goal isn't alteration, but insight. In dream yoga, the goal isn't to change the dream. It's to wake up inside it, to hold it in stillness, and to let your own wisdom digest it. This digestion doesn't come from analysis. It comes from direct experience. Preparation begins in waking life. The more present you are during the day, the more likely you are to wake up inside a dream. This is because the mind that recognizes dreaming is the same mind that recognizes impermanence. Daytime mindfulness, observing thoughts, breath, assumptions, trains lucidity. The way you observe thoughts while awake is the same way you learn to observe them while asleep. The boundary isn't as solid as we think. Before bed, reflect. Before sleep, recall your day with honesty, not judgment. Clarity. Where did the mind tighten? What emotional residue is still there? What was left unresolved? When you do this gently, you give the subconscious fewer reasons to push those patterns into dream. You're not suppressing, you're acknowledging, and acknowledgement purifies. Set intention softly. As you fall asleep, the practice deepens. Set the intention to remain aware. This isn't mental effort, it's a soft resolve, a whisper to the mind. I will recognize the dream. No force. Create conditions for natural lucidity. In dreams, rest in knowing. Seeing clearly in the dream space allows emotions to discharge, stories to release. The body may even feel lighter in the morning, not just from physical rest, but because something deeper was let go. Peaceful or disturbing, dreams teach. A disturbing dream isn't failure. It's a teaching. It shows you what still held, what still feared, what still clung to. And when you meet that with awareness, the pattern loses momentum. This is karmic clearing, psychological and spiritual. The habits of mind that cause suffering don't just play out while awake. They show themselves in the symbolic language of sleep. And when you stop reacting, when you bring attention without grasping, those habits weaken. Over time, dreams soften. Lucid or not, dreams become less reactive. The emotional charge softens. The mind becomes less chaotic. Yogacara teaches the dream-waking boundary is thin. Both are projections of mind. Both can be met with wisdom. This blurs states, extending awareness. The mind that wakes up in sleep is the same mind that wakes up in life. Dream yoga rehearses death. Dream yoga teaches that sleep is a rehearsal for death. Not in a dark way, but in a profound one. Every night the sense of self dissolves. Learning to stay aware during sleep prepares the mind to stay aware during the biggest transition of all. Yet benefits are immediate. Ease with uncertainty, less fear, driven, disidentified from drama. The benefits of this are quiet but deep. You feel more at ease with uncertainty, less controlled by fear, less identified with the drama of thoughts, because you've seen what it's like to watch the show without believing it. Waking integrates. How you wake matters. When you open your eyes, the practice doesn't end. Ask yourself what was just present. Keep a journal. Write without editing. Let the symbols speak. Over time, patterns emerge. This isn't mastery but softening. You're not doing this to achieve anything. You're doing this to see clearly, to let go, to live in alignment with truth. The transcript affirms, even your dreams become sacred, even the darkest night becomes light, and your rest becomes more than rest. It becomes freedom. Dream yoga and karmic mirrors turn sleep profound. Meet projections with awareness, unwind patterns, awaken liberated. Foundations of mindfulness in transition. As the day's energy wanes and you hover on the edge of sleep, feeling the subtle pull between awareness and oblivion, have you ever considered how grounding your attention in the present could make that shift a seamless path to renewal? What if the ancient framework of mindfulness turned every transition not just into sleep, but through life's changes into an opportunity for clarity and peace? In the Buddha's profound discourse on the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the 4 foundations of mindfulness offer a map for navigating these in-between moments, extending practice into the fluid states of rest, where awareness dissolves boundaries and transforms sleep into a continuation of wisdom. The transcript presents the 4 foundations as essential anchors for deep awareness, applicable beyond formal meditation to every life moment, including the descent into sleep. It lays out the foundations for deep awareness, not awareness in the abstract, but in the most human ways possible, through the body, through feeling, through the mind, and through what's true. For centuries, Buddhist practitioners have turned to these foundations, not just during sitting meditation, but in every moment of their lives, including the hours between sunset and sleep. These aren't rigid steps, but invitations to presence, turning transitions from scattered to sacred, because the truth is, how we fall asleep matters. When the mind is scattered, sleep becomes shallow. When the heart is heavy, dreams become dense. But when mindfulness is present, the boundary between practice and rest dissolves. The first foundation, mindfulness of the body, Kayanupassana, grounds transitions in physical reality. In bed, awareness begins here not in swirling thoughts, but in sensations. Not in the head, not in thoughts, in sensation, in contact, in how the blanket touches your skin, in the rhythm of your breath moving in and out naturally. As sleep approaches, the body signals change, limbs heavy, breath slowing. Observe without alteration. You don't have to breathe differently. You only have to feel it, follow it. Let the body tell you what's true. If there is tightness, don't resist it. If there's warmth, rest in it. Scan gently, toes to head, noting posture, temperature, contact. This kind of attention isn't mental. It's grounding. It makes your body feel safe enough to release. The nervous system softens when it feels seen, and the body, no matter how tired, is always listening. In transition, this prevents disconnection, easing the fade of usual sense of me as boundaries blur. The second foundation, mindfulness of feelings, Vedananupassana, attunes to the subtle tones of experience, not emotions, but raw pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral qualities. The second foundation is feeling not emotion, but the subtle tone of each moment, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, without judgment. In sleep's edge, notice pillow's softness, pleasant, back's ache, unpleasant, or neutral numbness. The point isn't to change anything, it's to know what's present. Knowing feeling tones in real time trains the mind to stop reacting blindly. The discomfort isn't a threat, the pleasure isn't a trap. Each sensation is part of a changing field. This halts blind reactions, chasing comfort or fleeing discomfort that prolong wakefulness. Noticing this changes your relationship to rest. You no longer chase sleep, you allow it. In transition, feelings shift rapidly. Mindfulness holds them lightly, preventing escalation into mental loops. The third foundation, mindfulness of mind, Cittanupassana, observes mental states directly. Noticing the state you're in. Is the mind contracted or open, dull or sharp, restless or relaxed? You don't fix it. You don't analyze it. You observe it the same way you'd watch a candle flicker. As sleep nears, note if the mind is busy with to-dos or softening into ease. This allows sleep to arrive without resistance. You are not your mind state. You are the one who sees it. This simple truth turns even the busiest mental activity into something workable. No need for pre-sleep clarity. You're not here to be empty. You're here to be aware. In transition, this non-identification eases the unwind. The habits of mind you bring into rest shape the quality of it. If you carry judgment, the dreams reflect it. If you carry resistance, the body doesn't fully release. But if you bring awareness, even loosely, even softly, something changes. The fourth foundation, mindfulness of dharmas, Dhammanupassana, contemplates mental patterns and truths like impermanence, hindrances, or awakening factors. These include the hindrances that often show up most strongly at night: desire, aversion, restlessness, sloth, doubt. Noticing which ones are present gives you space. It lets you see, restlessness is here, not I am restless, just this is what's arising now. In transition, recognize themes. Ask, where's my attention? What's my body feeling? What's the tone? Is there grasping? Is there ease? This isn't control. It's surrender with awareness. This shift is pivotal. The difference between drowning in your thoughts and floating above them. You're no longer trying to be peaceful. You're simply meeting what's here with clarity, and that is peace. Together, the foundations dissolve boundaries in transition. Awareness doesn't have to stop just because the day does. In fact, that's when it becomes most powerful, because the filters drop, the masks fall. All that's left is what's real. Sleep becomes extension. You don't fall asleep unconsciously. You transition with care over time. This creates a different relationship with the night. Sleep isn't a battle. It's not something you succeed or fail at. It becomes an extension of practice. The transcript ties this to bards. In that process, you meet something that's not sleep and not wakefulness, a transitional space. This is where awareness can stay, not as effort, not as watching, as resting in presence. Foundations maintain this. The invitation is to meet that process with presence, with honesty, with curiosity. In practice, return to foundations gently. Foundations aren't meant to be forced reminders, gentle invitations. When lying in bed, instead of getting caught in looping thoughts, return to one of the four. This leads to depth. The depth comes from how present you are as sleep arrives. Most people see sleep as nothing, but in Buddhist practice, it's far from that. It's a state of change, of letting go, of softening identity. Over time, rest regenerates. Deep regenerative rest. This also reshapes how you wake. When mindfulness is present at sleep's edge, it echoes into morning. You wake with more space, more clarity, more kindness. The foundations align with impermanence. When you let these truths in, not as philosophy, but as lived experience, something inside you stops clinging, and that unclenching allows true rest. In transition, they mature stillness. The bed becomes a place of retreat, not escape, but return. A return to what's essential, what's real, what's alive in you, even in stillness. The transcript affirms, this practice is quiet, invisible, but it's transformative. And the reason it works is simple. It's aligned with how things truly are. Foundations in transition extend awareness. Turning sleep sacred presence holds change. Peace unfolds. Intentions and vows, guiding the subconscious. Bodhisattva vow for compassionate rest. As the quiet of night envelops you and the day's efforts fade into stillness, what if renewing a simple vow of compassion could infuse your sleep with purpose, turning rest into a subtle act of service for all beings? Imagine aligning your subconscious not just for personal renewal, but for a deeper commitment to alleviate suffering, allowing your nights to become a compassionate refuge that echoes into waking life. In the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, the Bodhisattva vow emerges as a powerful intention, reprogramming the mind's hidden layers to foster meaningful rest, where sleep nurtures not only the body, but the aspiration to benefit others. The transcript introduces the Bodhisattva vow as a directional force that shapes the unconscious. A bodhisattva is not someone who seeks awakening for themselves alone. It is someone who turns towards suffering, not to escape it, but to meet it, to respond with wisdom and compassion. This vow is not just spoken once, it is lived. It becomes the backbone of thought, action, and intention. And when practiced deeply, it begins to shape the unconscious. Unlike self-focused rest, this vow orients toward bodhicitta, the awakened heart-mind vowing to free all beings from suffering. Traditional phrasing includes, beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha's path is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Spoken before sleep, it plants seeds in receptive soil. To sleep with this vow is to plant its essence in the most receptive soil, the mind at rest. The part of you that does not argue, the part that absorbs, stores, and acts from what it knows beneath words. Compassionate rest through the vow shifts sleep's purpose. Sleep is not just rest, it is return. Return to the base of consciousness, to the roots of mind where deep habits form. This space is malleable. It listens, it receives. Whatever you place into it before you sleep begins to grow. It becomes part of your pattern, The vow reprograms. Reprogramming the subconscious does not require force. It requires clarity, repetition, alignment between heart and action. Before sleep, this vow can be quietly renewed, not as pressure, but as offering, not as expectation, but as seed. It redirects from fear or isolation to connection. It shifts the focus from fear to service, from isolation to connection, from self-centered struggle to open-hearted willingness. The nervous system responds. The mind begins to feel safe, not because it is secure, but because it is anchored in meaning. In practice, renew the vow nightly. Speaking this aloud or silently before sleep reshapes the direction of your inner life. Personalize if traditional feels distant. If the traditional phrases feel distant, speak from your heart. Before sleep, say what matters. May I be of benefit. May my rest support clarity. May my dreams open insight. May I meet all beings with kindness. May I wake to serve again. Intention is key. The subconscious responds most deeply to truth, not elaborate words, but sincere presence. Speak what feels real. Let the vow be a mirror for your own longing to be of use in a world that suffers. Accompany with gestures, a hand to heart, a bow bridging mind-body. These actions are not decoration, they are bridges. They connect mind to body. They make the vow tangible. They signal to the nervous system that a shift is happening. This reshapes dreams and subconscious. The vow also dissolves the illusion of separation. You no longer fall asleep as a lone individual. You rest as part of a larger whole. Your rest becomes a form of service, not through action, but through intention. Studies mentioned align. Scientific studies have shown that the final thoughts before sleep influence dream formation, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. This means your intention matters more than you realize. Dreams reflect compassion. It redirects the subconscious toward compassion-based activity. You may find that your dreams begin to reflect more connection, more helping, more clarity. Not always in obvious ways, but subtly. Even difficult dreams become practice. Instead of rejecting discomfort or confusion, you begin to see even nightmares as opportunities for practice. You can bring compassion to fear. You can meet conflict with clarity. You can reflect kindness into any scenario, even symbolic ones. The vow heals self-doubt. This intention also heals the parts of you that feel small, that wonder whether you matter, that question your worth. The Bodhisattva vow says, your being is of value because you choose to benefit others. Not someday, not when perfect, but now in this body, in this moment, even in sleep. It's responsibility, joyful, sacred. This is not ego, it is responsibility. Joyful, grounded, sacred responsibility. The choice to stay on the path even while resting. Sleep infuses meaning. You no longer dread the night. You no longer fight rest. You step into it as part of your practice, as another form of generosity, as a way to keep the heart open while the body recovers. Over time, momentum builds. The momentum of compassion carries forward. You can return to intention again and again. Mornings reflect. Let rest prepare you to show up fully. Let the vow continue through the night. Let it work beneath words. Let it reach where habit lives, where karma is stored, where patterns are built. Even forgotten dreams plant seeds. When you wake, you may not remember your dreams. You may not feel changed, but something deep within you will know. A choice was made, a seed was planted. The vow lives on in silence. In Mahayana context, the vow is boundless, like Viharas. You're not doing this to achieve anything. You're doing this to see clearly, to let go, to live in alignment with truth. It complements foundations, even when the body is still and the world has gone quiet. For compassionate rest, it's directional. Let this vow soften your inner world. Let it shape your dreams. Let it carry you into a sleep that heals not only you, but everyone your life touches. The transcript concludes, sleep then, not to escape, but to serve. Let rest prepare you to show up fully. The vow lives on in silence, in stillness, in sleep. Embrace the Bodhisattva vow, rest compassionately, awaken purposefully, paramitas, as nightly seeds. As the boundary between day and night softens, and your mind prepares to slip into the fertile ground of sleep, what if planting subtle intentions of virtue could guide your subconscious toward awakening, infusing rest with purpose? Imagine whispering qualities like generosity or wisdom into the quiet of your heart, allowing these seeds to take root in dreams and bloom into a clearer, steadier waking life. In Buddhist teachings, the paramitas, the 10 perfections, offer a framework for cultivating enlightened qualities, and when embraced before sleep, they become nightly seeds, shaping the inner landscape with gentle, transformative intent. The transcript presents the paramitas as orienting commitments, not rigid achievements. In Buddhist teachings, the paramitas, often translated as the 10 perfections, are qualities of mind and heart that, when developed, lead to awakening. They are not achievements, but orientations, not rigid standards, but inner commitments. These include generosity, dana, virtue, sika, renunciation, nakahama, wisdom, panna, energy, varya, patience, kanti, truthfulness, sikha, determination, adhithana, loving-kindness, metta, and equanimity, pechka. As nightly intentions, they guide the unconscious. When brought into your final thoughts before sleep, the paramitas can become seeds that influence your dreams, your rest, and your re-entry into waking consciousness. They don't control your experience, but they guide its shape. Rather than forcing change, they plant qualities. You are not programming your mind like a machine. You are planting qualities, guiding the inner current, replacing old momentum with presence. Each paramita serves as a subtle vow, aligning the mind before rest. The transcript suggests you can treat each parameter as a subtle vow, a soft alignment, a whisper to the deeper layers of mind. May this be remembered even when I am not watching. This isn't formal recitation but heartfelt direction. For example, generosity begins. Before sleep, recall a moment of giving, not to praise yourself, but to remind the mind what it feels like to share. Set the intention. May my dreams reflect openness, not grasping. May my rest be an offering to the body. May I wake with a heart ready to give. This counters selfishness that tightens the subconscious, fostering openness that eases rest. Virtue follows. Reflect gently on how you used your speech, your actions, your attention, not with guilt, but with care. Ask without pressure, where can I be more aligned? Set the tone. May my rest renew my integrity. May my body remember restraint. May my mind incline toward kindness. This purifies ethical residue, harsh words or distractions, lightening the heart. Renunciation releases clinging. Release the grasping that clung to the day. Let go of what didn't work, what wasn't finished, what didn't go your way. Renunciation is not deprivation, it is peace. Whisper to the heart. May I let go of what no longer serves clarity. May I remember that release is also a form of strength. This aligns with letting go, unburdening sleep. Wisdom invites insight. Invite insight to arise even without effort. The subconscious often processes what the waking mind cannot. Set the direction. May I sleep with a mind that stays curious. May I wake with new understanding. May wisdom unfold without needing control. Energy commits to effort. Let this intention rest with you. May I wake with the energy to continue this path. May my effort be steady, not strained. Patience, explored earlier, reinforces. Speak to yourself softly. May I meet all moments with gentleness. May I not rush toward awakening or away from difficulty. May I trust the unfolding however it appears. Truthfulness demands honesty. Be honest about where your mind has wandered, about what you still fear, about what you are still learning to meet. Then offer this. May I meet all experience, waking or dreaming, with honesty. May I not turn away from truth, no matter how quiet it is. Determination sustains. Let this vow settle. May I remain committed to awakening even when I forget, even in dream, even in confusion. Let this direction return again and again. Loving kindness and equanimity complete, echoing viharas. Say simply, may I dream with a heart that includes all beings. May I rest in a field of care. May my presence even in sleep be a benefit to others. Offer this to your unconscious. May I meet all inner states with calm. May I wake with a mind that sees clearly, without clinging, without aversion. This practice is flexible. You do not need to recite all 10 formally each night. Even bringing one into focus begins to shift the inner landscape. Before sleep, choose a paramita resonating with the day, perhaps patience for frustration, generosity for isolation. Whisper its intent. May my rest nurture this quality. May it guide my dreams. This seeds the subconscious, influencing dream content subtly. This becomes your dream re-entry program, not as escape but as direction. You are telling the heart, I want to wake in alignment. I want to rest with purpose. The paramitas align with the bodhisattva vow, orienting towards service. They form the scaffolding for a life that is not ruled by fear, but shaped by clarity, generosity, and peace. In transition, they ensure continuity. This is not only for monks or advanced practitioners, it is for anyone who wants to live with depth, who wants their nights to support their days, who wants their sleep to be more than silence. Benefits are subtle. When waking comes, you may not remember your dreams, you may not feel different. But the day begins with a subtler balance. There is less rush, less reactivity, more readiness. Because the night was not wasted, it was used. Over time, daily reactivity softens. The reaction that once rose quickly now pauses. The judgment that once held tight now opens. The distraction that once consumed now fades faster because the foundation is different. Sleep integrates. You begin to trust sleep. Even if it's imperfect, you begin to feel connected. Even when unconscious, you begin to understand that this path is not limited by state. Awake or asleep, effortful or restful, the direction holds. The seeds grow. In Buddhist tradition, paramitas cultivate bodhicitta, complementing mindfulness foundations. Let the paramitas become more than ideas. Let them become breath, intention, memory. Whisper them into the mind each night. Let them echo in the dark. Let them rise in the morning. The transcript concludes, close the day not only with rest, but with direction, and let your return be steady, clear, and filled with purpose. Paramitas, as nightly seeds plant awakening rest purposefully, awaken aligned. Renunciation of daily attachments. As the weight of the day's unfinished business presses upon you in the quiet hours before sleep, what if a deliberate act of release could unburden your mind, allowing rest to arrive without the chains of lingering attachments? Imagine acknowledging each worry, each role, each expectation, and gently setting them aside, transforming your bed from a place of mental clutter into a sanctuary of surrender. In Buddhist practice, renunciation emerges as a profound intention, not of deprivation but of freedom, where letting go of daily attachments clears the path for deeper rest, aligning the subconscious with peace and preparing you to awaken lighter and more present. The transcript frames renunciation as an essential art for the night, a skillful release that breaks the cycle of carrying the day's burdens into sleep. Letting go at night is a skill. It's something that can be practiced not through force, not through denial, but through small, clear acts of surrender. Daily attachments, worries replayed, responsibilities looped, self-images clung to prevent true rest. These are the burdens that prevent deep rest. The interactions that linger, the responsibilities that replay, the image of yourself that you try to protect, prove, or perform. Renunciation isn't withdrawal from life, but choosing peace over possession. Renunciation is not withdrawal, it is choosing peace over possession, stillness over struggle, clarity over control. At night, it becomes the art of setting down what the day asked you to carry. This practice begins with acknowledgement, a gentle reflection to name what's held. One of the simplest practices is closing the day with acknowledgement. Before lying down, pause and reflect. What were the moments that still feel unresolved? What part of the day are you still holding in your body or mind without trying to solve it? Speak to it internally or softly aloud. Name it. This happened. This was said. This is still here. And then release it. It does not belong to this moment. I can let it rest now. This naming disrupts looping. This naming and releasing process helps the mind stop looping. It gives the system permission to rest. You are not erasing the past. You are simply saying not now. Attachments often hide in the body, clenched jaw, tight shoulders signaling unresolved energy. Use mindful touch to guide release. Place your hand gently where the tension lives. Bring warmth and presence there. Speak to the body with care. You don't have to hold this. This small act of tenderness brings deep release. Renunciation extends to breath as surrender. Each exhale is a small surrender. If you focus on the out-breath for several minutes, you'll notice a shift. The body softens, the mind slows. As you breathe out, silently say, let go. Not as command, but as invitation. Feel the breath carry away the grasping, the weight, the pressure. This counters the compulsion to manage. So much of restlessness comes from the need to manage outcomes, to know what will happen, to shape the future. But night is not for planning, it is for trusting. As you lie down, you can silently remind yourself, I don't need to hold tomorrow. It will arrive without my worry. Even identity attaches heavy roles like achiever or fixer. The bed does not need your resume, your reputation, your responsibilities. You can leave them outside the covers. Repeat to yourself, I am not my role. I am not this image. I can return to what I am, without all the names. This kind of release allows the self to dissolve gently, not into nothing but into presence, into what is left when the labels fall away. Gratitude supports renunciation by balancing lack. When you name what you are grateful for, you stop chasing what you think is missing. This reduces craving, which is a form of attachment. Before bed, list 3 things that brought ease, beauty, or connection, not to distract from difficulty but to balance it. Gratitude reminds the mind that not everything needs to be fixed. Some things can simply be appreciated. Forgiveness unties relational knots. If someone's words or actions linger painfully, they become attachments. Releasing them doesn't mean approval. It means freeing yourself from their grip. A simple phrase can open that door. I forgive what I can for now. I release what I cannot control. If you're not ready, say, I'm willing to consider releasing this. Even that begins to untie the knot. Symbolic actions reinforce. You can place a small bowl or box near your bed. Before sleep, mentally place your worries into it. Visualize setting them down, not erasing them, just holding them outside the mind for now. You can pick them up in the morning if needed, but for now, they are contained. This physical gesture helps the mind understand that the work of the day is done. The boundaries are clear. You have stepped out of doing into being. Renunciation even applies to sleep itself. Sometimes renunciation means releasing your grip on how sleep should happen. The idea that you must sleep at a certain time in a certain way for a certain length. These thoughts become pressure, and pressure becomes resistance. Let go of the story that sleep must be perfect. Let it be what it is. Trust that rest will come. Trust that you are not in charge of it. You are only creating space for it to arrive. In Buddhist context, renunciation, nakahama, is a paramita, letting go of what hinders clarity. The transcript integrates with vows. What you set down returns to the world softer. What you release no longer shapes your breath. What you let go of tonight gives you back your life tomorrow. It aligns with foundations. Body feels release, feelings tone neutralizes, mind observes without grasping, dharmas reveal impermanence. Let this become your final practice before sleep. Sit, breathe, acknowledge, surrender. Not all at once, not perfectly, just honestly. The mind will learn, the body will follow, and rest will arrive. Not because you chased it, but because you cleared the space for it to enter. Benefits unfold. Subconscious lightens, dreams unburden, mornings freer. As the day dissolves and the attachments fade, you begin to enter a quieter space. You've let go of control, softened the grip of identity, and cleared a path for stillness. Renunciation fosters trust. This trust can be extended even further into identity, into the stories you tell yourself about who you are. The transcript promises, let this be your final act before sleep. Rest will arrive, not because you chased it, but because you cleared the space for it to enter. Renunciation of daily attachments liberates, set down burdens, rest freely, awaken renewed. 5 remembrances for freedom. As the veil of night draws close and subtle fears of change whisper in your mind, keeping true rest at arm's length, what if reflecting on life's inevitable truths could dissolve those illusions, granting you the freedom to surrender without resistance? Imagine embracing aging, illness, death, loss, and the weight of your actions not as sources of dread, but as liberating reminders that strip away the ego's grip, allowing your heart to open to a profound peace. In Buddhist teachings, the 5 remembrances serve as powerful intentions for clarity, purifying the subconscious by confronting impermanence head-on, turning bedtime into a gateway where freedom replaces fear, and sleep becomes a fearless return to stillness. The transcript introduces the 5 remembrances as compassionate tools to meet the mind's deepest fears. The Buddha offered a set of reflections to meet this part of the mind directly, not to scare it into surrender, but to show it the truth it already knows deep down. These are called the 5 remembrances. They are not meant to bring sadness or fear. They are reminders not of despair, but of freedom. These reflections I am of the nature to grow old, to become ill, to die. Everything I love will change. My actions are my only true belongings. Dismantle the illusion of control and permanence. Because once you see clearly what is not in your control, you stop trying to control it. You stop fighting reality. And in that stopping, something peaceful begins to grow. At night, when the ego resists sleep as a mini-death, these remembrances loosen clinging, fostering humility and presence. The first remembrance I am of the nature to grow old confronts the body's transience. Age is not something we avoid, it's something we live through. The skin changes, the muscles weaken. The body, which we often use to define ourselves, begins to shift in ways we cannot stop. Before sleep, this shifts vanity to care. Acknowledging this truth does not take away from life, it deepens it. When you go to bed knowing that this body is not forever, you hold it differently with more care, more presence, less vanity. You are not trying to prove anything, you are resting simply in what is. Freedom arises from accepting change, preventing restlessness born of denial. The second I am of the nature to become ill cultivates humility toward vulnerability. Health is not permanent. No matter how strong you are today, the body is vulnerable. This reflection is not meant to create fear, but to grow humility. In bed, it encourages listening. When you realize that your strength is temporary, you stop pretending to be invincible. You stop demanding perfection from the body. You start listening more. You begin to understand that sleep too is not earned through force, but given through trust. Trust in this fragile body that has carried you so far. This releases the burden of invincibility, allowing the body to unwind without performance. The third I am of the nature to die touches the ego's core avoidance, yet brings urgency to presence. Death is not an idea, not an event for later. It is part of your nature. This reflection can strike deeply. It touches the core of what the ego tries to avoid, but it is not meant to bring sorrow. It brings urgency, not for panic, but for presence. Knowing that you will die helps you stop wasting time pretending otherwise. You begin to see what really matters. At night, it lightens. What you carry to bed becomes lighter because you stop trying to control a future that no one can promise. Sleep mirrors death's letting go. The mind that resists death also resists sleep. It keeps you alert, as if letting go for the night is a kind of dying. In a way, it is the self dissolves in sleep. Identity fades, time disappears. The fourth, everything I love and everyone I love are of the nature to change. They will grow old, fall ill, and die fosters non-possessive love. This includes the people closest to you, your possessions, your status, and even the beliefs you once held tightly. This truth can be difficult, but it leads to a kind of love that is free from possession. You stop holding people as if they belong to you. You stop fearing change, and instead begin to love more fully because you understand how precious and temporary everything really is. In reflection, it blurs separation. When you accept your nature to age, fall ill, and die, you begin to see that everyone shares this nature. The lines between you and others blur. That sense of being alone in your struggles starts to fade. There's a kind of peace in knowing that everyone is walking the same path, that nothing you're afraid of is yours alone. The fifth, my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of what I do. They are the ground I stand on, turns inward to karma. This is the mirror. In the end, what you have done, how you lived, how you treated others, how you treated yourself, is what shapes your mind, your dreams, your karma. At night, when all the noise fades, this truth becomes clear. The clothes, the opinions, the achievements, all of it fades. But the way you showed up today, that remains. It inspires integrity without guilt, lightening superficial attachments. These remembrances aren't pessimistic rituals, but clarity practices. Practicing these reflections before bed is not a ritual of pessimism, it is a practice of clarity. You don't repeat them to scare yourself, you repeat them to return to reality. And in doing so, you shed the layers that prevent real rest. They strip ego. These 5 are not just words, they are tools. They strip away the parts of the ego that hold on out of fear. And when that gripping loosens, what's left is something quiet, not empty in a hollow way, empty in a spacious way, where rest is not disturbed by clinging to the illusion of control. Recite silently or aloud. Say the words slowly. Feel them. Don't resist them. Let the truth in. Let the stories fall. Let the grip loosen. Let the self dissolve just enough to sleep in freedom. Freedom blooms in acceptance. There is a strange relief in accepting this, like removing armor you didn't know you were wearing. You start to feel the difference between self and story, between the body and the thoughts about the body, between what changes and what watches the change. The watcher awareness remains undisturbed. In sleep, this heals. The part of you that's been exhausted by holding up the weight of a permanent self starts to rest, truly rest. Attachments fade. The burden of needing to prove yourself, the burden of clinging to outcomes, the burden of holding tightly to people and things that were never truly in your control. The remembrances foster tenderness. With each remembrance, the ego softens, and what rises in its place is tenderness, compassion for yourself, gratitude for the breath that's still here, reverence for the people in your life, not as possessions, but as passing blessings. This connects to bards and foundations. This makes space for honesty, for real connection, for a kind of sleep that doesn't hide from the truth, but rests inside it. Sleep and death align. Both require letting go, both require trust, and both reveal what you've been holding on to. The transcript assures, the pillow becomes a place of presence, the bed a space of practice. This is what makes sleep peaceful. Not the perfect room, not the perfect thoughts, but the willingness to be with things as they are. 5. Remembrances grant freedom, confront truths, release. I. Breath as anchor for surrender. In the delicate moments before sleep claims you, when the mind's chatter threatens to anchor you in wakefulness, what if returning to the simple rhythm of your breath could become the ultimate act of surrender, gently dissolving the day's hold and inviting effortless rest? Picture your breath not as something to control, but as a faithful companion, guiding you to release identity and effort, transforming the transition into sleep, from a struggle into a natural flow of presence. In Buddhist mindfulness practices, the breath serves as a profound anchor for surrender, aligning intentions with the subconscious to foster a state where awareness rests without grasping, allowing the body and mind to yield to the healing depths of night. The transcript positions the breath as the final, most accessible intention before sleep, a bridge from conscious vows to unconscious renewal. With a heart open to kindness and a mind quieted by presence, you begin to feel what truly lies beneath all the effort and identity that still tries to hold on. And in the stillness between wakefulness and rest, there is one companion that remains soft, steady, and always present: the breath. In anti-parasitic mindfulness of breathing, the breath isn't a technique for force but a refuge. No matter what the mind has carried through the day or what emotions have stirred the heart, the breath is always near. It asks for nothing, it waits for nothing, it simply moves. And that movement, when seen clearly, becomes more than a bodily function. It becomes refuge. As an anchor, it draws attention inward. Letting the breath be your final thought does not mean forcing attention. It means returning to breath as the background of awareness. Letting thoughts rise and fall without being pulled. Letting emotion be felt but not followed. Letting sensation pass through while remaining centered. Surrender through breath begins with noticing, not manipulation. You allow the inhale to arrive. You feel its entry. You follow the exhale as it leaves. Without trying to extend it, without needing to evaluate it, the breath becomes the only object. And in that simplicity, the mind begins to settle. The rhythm naturally calms. The rhythm of breathing naturally slows when watched. The body's systems begin to respond. Heart rate decreases. Blood pressure softens. The parasympathetic nervous system becomes dominant. Melatonin increases. Cortisol lowers. These are not spiritual ideas. They are physiological responses to attention and safety. Breath anchors surrender by shifting from narrative to now. Attention has narrowed into stillness. You've stepped away from needing to solve, fix, or become anything. Attention has narrowed into stillness. This aligns with the Buddha's 4 stages of anti-parasitic. This progression happens naturally with familiarity. The more time you spend with the breath, the more it becomes a refuge. A place where the thinking mind no longer dominates, where presence replaces pressure. First, know the breath's full length. Then, its calming on the body. Observe mind quieting. Finally, let go of formations into ease. Letting the breath be your final focus also means dissolving identity. There is no one to perform, no one to fix, no role to hold. The breath asks for nothing but awareness. It doesn't care what you achieve today. It doesn't care what tomorrow will bring. It just flows. You are not guiding it. You are witnessing it. And in that witnessing, the self begins to soften. This softening is key. The self begins to soften. This softening is essential for sleep. Most restlessness comes not from physical discomfort, but from the self trying to continue beyond its moment. When the self rests in the breath, it no longer grasps, no longer plans, no longer defines itself by what it does or doesn't do. In practice, integrate as you lie down. Let the body settle. Allow the limbs to grow heavy. Then shift attention to the tip of the nose or the rise and fall of the belly. Let awareness rest there, not sharply, not tightly, just enough to keep from drifting fully into thought. If wandering occurs, each time the mind drifts, you return to the breath. This is the practice. Not in succeeding, but in returning. Over time, the moments of awareness grow longer. The space between thought becomes wider. Sleep comes not because you chased it, but because you no longer feed the mind anything to cling to. The breath is simple, uninteresting to the ego, but nourishing to awareness. Enhance with phrases. On the inhale, silently say, here. On the exhale, now, or simply feel the wordless rhythm, breathing in awareness, breathing out tension. For agitation, count. Inhale 1, exhale 1, inhale 2, exhale 2, continue to 10, then begin again. This counting is not rigid, it's a support. It gives the mind just enough structure to stay anchored. If emotion rises, meet it with breath. Let the breath hold it. Let it be known, then released. No suppression, no drama, just presence. Breath anchors surrender amid flux. When that return is complete, sleep happens naturally, not because you created it, but because the conditions were right. It complements vows and remembrances. The breath becomes more natural, because the breath responds to safety, and attention is safety. In subconscious guidance, breath plants surrender. Over time, the nervous system begins to understand that wakefulness is not danger, that night is not threat, that presence is available in every state. This fosters deeper benefits. The mind begins to settle. The body has softened. You've released the weight of identity, loosened the grip of control. In this space, something else begins to open. Not the end of consciousness, but a new doorway. Breath dissolves effort. You are not trying to breathe mindfully to get to sleep. You are using breath to return to what is always here. When that return is complete, sleep happens naturally. It ties to bards. Let the breath guide you as awareness begins to float. Don't hold it too tightly. The transcript promises, let that be your final thought. Not something to accomplish, just something to rest in. Let the breath carry you. Let the body follow. Let awareness stay. Breath, as anchor for surrender, liberates yield to its flow. Rest profoundly. Embracing the night, patience and non-reactivity. Patience in sleepless moments. When the clock ticks past midnight and sleep remains elusive, turning those wakeful hours into a gentle invitation for presence rather than a source of frustration. What if embracing the moment exactly as it is could reveal a deeper rest hidden within the wakefulness itself? Imagine shifting from resistance to acceptance, where insomnia becomes not a failure, but a teacher in unwavering clarity. In Buddhist teachings, patience or khanti stands as a perfection that transforms sleeplessness from suffering into practice, cultivating a quiet strength that meets discomfort with openness, allowing true peace to emerge even when slumber delays. The transcript positions patience as the key to navigating the inevitable challenges of rest. In sleeplessness, when met with resistance, becomes suffering, but when met with patience, it becomes practice. In Buddhist teachings, chant is the perfection of patience, not just tolerance, but deep, unwavering acceptance of reality as it is. It is not passive, it is not resignation. It is the quiet strength that allows clarity to stay present even when conditions are difficult. At night, khanti is tested subtly. The mind counts hours, judges failure, calculates tomorrow's cost. But this demand for different experience amplifies pain. What makes this painful is not the wakefulness itself, it is the demand for a different experience. The insistence that rest must happen now, exactly as expected. This demand closes the heart and agitates the mind. It turns wakefulness into a problem instead of a process. Patience reframes. Wakefulness is not failure. It is sensation, it is breath, it is stillness, it is sound, it is thought, it is presence. You are not outside the path just because your eyes are open at 2 a.m. It begins by releasing timelines. Patience begins by releasing the timeline. The need to sleep by a certain hour, the pressure to function at a specific level. These expectations feed agitation. When released, space opens. In that space, practice becomes possible. Observe the night's details: air's coolness, blankets' weight, pillows' texture as anchors. These sensations are not distractions, they are anchors. They ground the mind in direct experience, not the story of insomnia, but the reality of now. This willingness to be with discomfort trains resilience. Patience includes the willingness to be with what is uncomfortable. The mind may offer agitation, but you don't have to follow it. You can rest in awareness. You can observe thought as thought, tension as tension, and meet each one with kindness. This is the deeper meaning of Khanti, not merely waiting but staying present without complaint, not numbing but choosing not to react. In sleepless moments, feel the impulse to resist frustration rising and choose presence. That alone is powerful. It rewires your response to discomfort. The body begins to learn. I can be with this and not be overwhelmed. Breath companions here. The breath is your companion here. It does not have to be deep or slow, just noticed. Each inhale is a new beginning. Each exhale, a release. The mind may want to count or control. Let it rest in sensation. Let the breath be enough. Mantras support. A quiet repetition of "let it be" or "this too belongs" can soften the inner resistance. These phrases become rhythm. The mind listens, the body follows. Patience means no story of wrongness. Let go of the story that something is wrong. Wakefulness is not an error. It is a state of mind, temporary, changing like clouds passing through the night sky. What makes it suffering is the belief that it should not be happening. Even in persistence, rest happens. The body wants rest. But when sleep does not come, rest can still happen. Rest is not limited to unconsciousness. It can be found in presence, in quiet, in stillness. You can remain awake and still be resting. Patience sees patterns. You may notice restlessness, fear, grief, or even moments of great calm. Whatever arises, you are not there to fix it. You are there to meet it. This observation softens. Patience also means letting go of comparison. Other people sleep. Other people wake refreshed. These thoughts seem small, but they add pressure. They reinforce the idea that something is wrong with your experience. Khanti reminds us that suffering increases when we measure. But when we return to what is here, not what should be, we regain freedom. Humor lightens. Patience also allows room for humor. The gentle smile that arises when you realize you've been chasing sleep like a butterfly, only to see it fly further away. The moment you laugh quietly at the mind's insistence that this one night will ruin everything, that laughter is wisdom. It means you've created space between identity and experience. Options arise. Sit, meditate lightly, stretch, or remain lying with eyes open. There is no single right response. Patience does not mean waiting passively. It means responding with wisdom, with flexibility, with presence. If you get up, do so slowly. Let the light remain soft. Let the movements be simple. Make tea. Listen to silence. Return to bed without hope or dread. Just return. Over time, the nervous system learns. Over time, the nervous system begins to understand that wakefulness is not danger. That night is not threat. That presence is available in every state. When this understanding deepens, the body begins to trust again. And with trust, sleep comes. Not on demand, but as a visitor. One that arrives when the conditions are kind. Patience makes those conditions possible. This ties to foundations and bards. Let Shanti hold you. Let it shape the way you meet these moments. Let it remind you that even now, when sleep does not come, your practice continues. That awareness remains. That peace is not waiting for a perfect night to arrive. It is waiting for presence. And you are here right now, awake and practicing. Patience in sleepless moments is alert equanimity. It is the quiet strength that allows clarity to stay present even when conditions are difficult. The transcript assures, even now, especially now, you've just traveled through over 3 hours of timeless wisdom. Let the night become part of your practice, not separate from it. Embrace Khanti, meet wakefulness with grace. discover rest within, non-reactivity to slow samsara. As the wheel of habitual thoughts spins relentlessly in the silence of night, pulling you into cycles of craving and aversion that disrupt your peace, what if simply observing without engagement could gradually halt that momentum, freeing you from the endless loop of suffering? Imagine meeting each arising impulse, fear, desire, regret with steady presence, not suppression or indulgence, allowing the mind's patterns to lose their power over time. In Buddhist understanding, non-reactivity becomes the key to slowing samsara, the conditioned cycle of existence, transforming nighttime restlessness from a trap of compulsion into a path of liberation, where the subconscious unwinds and true stillness emerges. The transcript illuminates samsara not as a distant realm, but as an ongoing process within the mind. Samsara is not a place, it is a process. It is the conditioned cycle of craving, clinging, aversion, becoming and reacting. It keeps the mind spinning in patterns that create suffering, not because the mind is broken, but because it is deeply trained in movement. At night, when external distractions fade, this wheel intensifies. At night, when the body slows down and external stimulation fades, this wheel doesn't always stop. It continues through thought, memory, and reaction. The stories of the day reappear. The mind relives conversations, predicts outcomes, replays regrets. These aren't harmless, they perpetuate karma. This is not harmless activity. It is the continuation of karma. Karma does not wait for waking life. It moves in the spaces in between. It moves in how you respond to your own thoughts. Each reaction, even internal, leaves an imprint, and each imprint adds to the stream. Non-reactivity interrupts this. Non-reactivity is the key, not as passivity, but as deep intelligence. It is the decision not to feed what arises, not to suppress it, not to indulge it, but to remain present. A thought appears. You see it, you don't follow. A memory stirs pain. You acknowledge it, you don't push it away. A desire calls. You feel the pull, you let it pass. This isn't avoidance but wisdom. In Buddhist psychology, reactivity is what transforms experience into suffering. Feeling itself is not suffering. Thought itself is not the problem. It is the craving, the grasping, the pushing, the identifying that gives the wheel its power. Clinging to pleasant thoughts or resisting unpleasant ones turns the wheel. Non-reactivity steps off. When a pleasant thought arises and you cling to it, the wheel turns. When an unpleasant one arises and you resist it, the wheel turns again. Non-reactivity is the moment you step off. In nighttime practice, this means observing without participation. This stepping off is not dramatic. It's subtle. It happens each time you see thought as thought, sensation as sensation, emotion as movement, and do nothing but watch. You are not avoiding life. You are remaining in contact without being swept away. The hours before sleep are potent. Nighttime offers a rare opportunity to practice this because the distractions are fewer. The roles are paused. The mask slips. What's left is the raw momentum of the mind. The habit to judge, to fix, to worry, to fantasize, to plan. These are all forms of becoming micro-identities the mind clings to in the absence of outer activity. A thought like "I didn't do enough today" arises. Recognize, don't solve. When you lie in bed and a thought comes, "I didn't do enough today. Tomorrow will be hard. I need to fix this." The instinct is to react, to solve it, to argue with it. But each reaction feeds the mind's compulsion to act. Samsara grows stronger, not because of the content, but because of the reactivity itself. Instead, anchor in the body or breath. Use the body as your anchor. The warmth of the covers, the rhythm of the breath, the feeling of your weight against the mattress. Let the senses remind you there is nowhere else to be. Let the body's stillness teach the mind to stop running. The breath becomes a signal. Inhale, awareness. Exhale, release. Non-reactivity isn't dullness. Non-reactivity is not dullness. It is alert rest. It is watching without being caught. It is presence without preference. It is the willingness to be here fully without needing the moment to become anything else. And when the moment no longer needs to change, suffering begins to fade. The karmic wheel slows. The karmic momentum that shapes dream content is being interrupted. What you choose not to feed becomes less frequent. What you allow to pass begins to lose power. Physiologically, reactivity tenses, jaw clenches, heart races, but non-reactivity calms. Reactivity creates tension, tight jaw, racing heart, shallow breath. Each time the mind reacts, the body braces. But when you remain still, the body begins to trust. It realizes nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be defended. The breath deepens. The nervous system calms. The body enters a state where healing can begin. This is liberation. This is liberation, not in theory, but in lived experience. You are not escaping the world. You are interrupting the mechanics of suffering. You are training the mind to meet life without the compulsive need to change it. Non-reactivity distinguishes response from reaction. This practice doesn't mean ignoring injustice or discomfort. It means recognizing that reactivity is not the same as response. You can still act. You can still care. But you are no longer ruled by the momentum of unconscious habits. In night, renounce resolution. The conversation that didn't end well, the problem that remains open, the emotion that still lingers. These may not be finished, but you can finish your participation in them for now. Say to yourself, this is enough for today, not because everything is solved, but because you are choosing not to carry it into another cycle of reactivity. Over time, samsara slows. Each moment of non-reaction is a slowing. Each refusal to cling is a loosening. Each breath taken without chasing thought is a turning in a different direction. Dreams reflect. Eventually, even dreams begin to reflect this stillness because the karmic momentum that shapes dream content is being interrupted. The mind learns openness. The more you meet those patterns with stillness, the weaker they become. Over time, the mind learns a new response. Openness without engagement, attention without identification, presence without participation. Tied to foundations and bards, non-reactivity fosters gaps. Non-reactivity is the moment you step off. This stepping off is not dramatic, it's subtle. The transcript promises, let your response be stillness, let thoughts arise and pass, let emotions appear and soften, let the wheels spin without you on it. And in that stillness you will find not emptiness but freedom. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that doesn't depend, the kind that simply is, because you finally stopped turning and remembered how to stay. Non-reactivity slows samsara. Observe, release, liberate nightly. Internal non-harming in self-talk. As the quiet of night amplifies the subtle voice within, whispering judgments and criticisms that erode your inner peace and delay restful sleep, what if reframing that dialogue with kindness could heal the unseen wounds, creating a mind gentle enough to welcome stillness? Imagine treating your thoughts with the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend, dissolving the quiet violence that masquerades as motivation and turning self-talk from a source of harm into a pathway of self-care. In Buddhist ethics, internal non-harming rooted in ahimsa emerges as a transformative practice, purifying the mind's habitual cruelty toward itself, fostering an environment where the heart feels safe, the body relaxes, and sleep becomes a sanctuary of true refuge rather than escape. The transcript reveals the often overlooked domain of self-directed harm, hidden in everyday inner speech. There's one layer that often remains hidden, even through mindfulness. A voice so constant we forget it's there, a commentary so familiar we no longer question it. That voice is the inner dialogue. It follows you into silence. It shapes your self-image. It judges, compares, accuses, and sometimes flatters. It disguises itself as helpful. It pretends to motivate. But beneath its surface, much of that voice carries something more harmful than we realize. It carries violence. Not the loud kind, not physical, but the quiet, mental kind that leaves you exhausted. This internal aggression isn't overt but insidious. The sarcasm after a mistake, the comparison to others' successes, the exaggeration of flaws. We may never shout at a friend the way we shout inwardly when we make a mistake. We may not hold others to impossible standards the way we hold ourselves. Over time, it poisons rest, the kind that goes unchecked because it's considered normal. And this quiet cruelty over time shapes our mind stream. It creates tension. It poisons rest. It becomes the background of our entire experience. Ahimsa, or non-harming, extends beyond external actions to the intimate realm of self-talk as a foundational precept in Buddhist ethics. In Buddhist ethics, ahimsa, on-hearing, is a foundational principle. It guides speech, action, livelihood. But the most overlooked domain of non-harming is the way we speak to ourselves. The mind learns this pattern early, absorbing tones from others and internalizing them. Internal dialogue begins early. We hear how others speak to us. We absorb the tone. We repeat it without awareness. What was once external becomes internalized. A narrative forms. I'm not enough. I should be better. I always mess this up. And these thoughts start to sound like truth. But they are not truth. They are habits. Recognizing this isn't about guilt but awakening. Understanding this is not about guilt. It's about recognizing that the mind has learned to turn against itself. Not because you're broken, but because the patterns were never questioned. The first step is awareness of the tone. You begin to notice the tone of your inner voice. Not just the words, but the feeling behind them. Is it impatient, demanding, cold? When you forget something, what is your first thought? When you feel anxious, what does your mind say in response? This moment of noticing is powerful. It stops the cycle. It makes space for compassion. Watch for subtle violences. You also begin to watch for subtle violences, sarcasm, comparison, exaggeration. The mind says, I'm always like this. Everyone else has it figured out. This again, really. These thoughts may seem small, but they create identity. They reinforce stories and they violate the principle of harmlessness by turning perception into punishment. Right speech applies inwardly. Right speech isn't just about what comes out of the mouth. It's about intention, impact, and alignment with truth. When applied internally, it becomes a method of healing. You start to bring ethics into the most intimate layer of your life. You start to treat yourself with the same care you'd offer a friend, not as a tactic, but as a commitment. Reframing self-talk fosters non-harming. Non-harming speech is grounded in understanding. You do not speak harshly to someone in pain. So when the mind is restless or shame arises or fear tightens the chest, your internal language must soften, not with fake positivity, but with real attention. This is hard, and I'm still here. This hurts, but I don't need to attack myself. These are not affirmations. They are ethics in action. Change I can't do this too. This is difficult and I can take one step. I failed again becomes I met my limit and I'm still showing up. This isn't perfection. Slips happen, but notice and reframe. Everyone slips into old language. What matters is that you notice, that you return, that you reframe. Silence aids kindness. In addition to reframing inner dialogue, silence can also become a form of kindness. You don't need to replace every harmful thought with a better one. Sometimes you just don't feed the pattern. You watch the thought arise and fall without response. That restraint is not suppression, it's freedom. You are choosing not to amplify harm. Loving kindness phrases support. This restraint is supported by practices of loving kindness. When practiced regularly, phrases of goodwill begin to replace the harsh inner narrative. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. May I meet this moment with compassion. These are not meant to cover over difficulty. They are meant to plant new seeds over time. The default tone of your mind begins to change. Judgment becomes inquiry. Harshness becomes patience. Reactivity becomes presence. The impact on sleep is direct. This internal shift has direct effects on sleep. The moment you lie down, the inner voice often gets louder. It replays the day. It criticizes what went wrong. It imagines what should have been done differently. When that voice is aggressive, the body cannot relax. The nervous system remains alert. You are unconsciously in defense mode. But when internal dialogue is kind, the body begins to release. The breath slows. The jaw softens. The heart rate evens out because the mind is no longer attacking itself. Rest becomes possible. A mind that doesn't harm itself can finally rest. This rest is not just physical. It is emotional, mental, karmic. It is the absence of internal conflict, the absence of hostility, the presence of care. Over time, observation reveals impersonality. The more you observe inner speech, the more you see how impersonal it is. These thoughts don't belong to you. They arise, they pass. They reflect past conditioning. When viewed with awareness, they lose their power. This is the function of ethics. They are not commandments. They are reflections of harmony. When you apply them to your speech, even silently, the result is less friction, less inner war, more peace. The mind becomes hospitable. Let your internal speech reflect your deepest values. Let every phrase be a step toward non-harming. Let your mind become a place where compassion lives, not as a concept, but as a language. And in that language, may you find rest. Not because you earned it, but because you stopped interrupting it. Internal non-harming ties to viharas and foundations. Because you remembered. Ahimsa begins where violence was never expected to be found, and you brought the light there anyway. It complements non-reactivity. You are choosing not to amplify harm. The transcript promises, when the harshness of internal dialogue is replaced with compassion, the space inside the mind changes. It becomes gentler, quieter, and more trustworthy. The voice that once attacked now observes. The language that once harmed now soothes. Cultivate this nightly notice tone. Reframe kindly. Embrace silence. Internal non-harming heals self-inflicted wounds, inviting restful surrender, monastic wakefulness as opportunity. In the profound silence of the midnight hours, when the world slumbers and your mind stirs with unexpected alertness, what if those moments of wakefulness were not a curse to endure, but a sacred invitation to deepen your practice, much like the monks who embrace the night as a teacher? Imagine shifting your perspective from frustration at lost sleep to reverence for the clarity that emerges in darkness, turning insomnia into an opportunity for insight and presence. Drawing from centuries of Buddhist monastic tradition, wakefulness at night becomes a gateway to subtle wisdom, where the absence of distractions reveals the mind's true nature, allowing you to cultivate awareness that transforms rest and life into something profoundly meaningful. The transcript honors the monastic approach to the night, viewing it not as interruption, but as a precious field for contemplation. While most of the world sleeps or struggles against sleeplessness, others choose to remain awake, not as punishment, but as practice. In Buddhist monastic life, nighttime wakefulness is not a problem to solve. It is a sacred window. It is seen not as a failure of rest, but as an invitation. Across traditions from Theravada forest monasteries to Mahayana temples, monks structure their lives to harness these hours. In many traditions, the monastic schedule includes midnight meditation or pre-dawn walking practice. These hours are not forced. They are embraced as times when the mind, undistracted and softened, can turn inward with more ease. The night offers unique qualities, fewer distractions, quieter senses, loosened identity. The silence of the early hours offers a quality of mind and environment that is hard to find elsewhere. The distractions are minimal, The senses are quieter, identity loosens, there's less noise inside and out. This monastic wakefulness isn't about rigid discipline but opportunity. Monks use these hours not for effortful striving, but for grounded awareness, a slow walking meditation, a seated practice with attention on breath, reflection on teachings. These are not done as rituals. They are methods for stabilizing the mind when the veil of distraction is naturally thinner. In your own life, if sleep evades, adopt this view. If you wake in the middle of the night, you can choose not to panic, not to judge, not to grasp at solutions. Instead, you can pause, you can breathe, you can sit up slowly or remain lying down with awareness. You can feel the sensations of your body, the movement of air, the weight of your presence. This mirrors monks' embrace. You are not lost. You are in a moment that monks have sought out for centuries, a moment that holds less friction, more honesty, and deeper access to the inner landscape. The essence lies in relationship to silence. What makes the midnight hours powerful is not their silence alone, but your relationship to that silence. Most people fill every pause with content, but monks use the pause to see, to hear, to observe their own habits of mind, to understand how suffering begins and how peace arises when the mind stops clinging. Wakefulness rooted in intention opens presence. Not all wakefulness is the same. Wakefulness rooted in anxiety leads to exhaustion. Wakefulness rooted in intention opens into presence. It's not the state that matters, it's how it's met. Monks see time differently. The middle of the night is not wasted, it is precious. It is a chance to practice when the world is not looking, when the roles are quiet, when the mind has fewer places to hide. In practice, even short awareness turns transformative. You don't need long hours or monastic robes. You need presence. You need willingness. You need the courage to stay. Sit formally or lie with intent. Listen to breath. Feel heartbeat. Repeat a phrase like patience or compassion. Let the wakefulness become gentle. Let it be something you lean into rather than resist. Observe patterns. Even a short period of mindful awareness during the night can be transformative. You begin to see your thoughts with more space. You begin to notice patterns that daytime busyness hides. There may be restlessness, fear, grief, or even moments of great calm. Whatever arises, you are not there to fix it. You are there to meet it. This builds insight. The wisdom of monks reminds us that not all spiritual work happens during the day. In fact, some of the most subtle and lasting insight arises in the hours most people try to escape. Monastic wakefulness reframes night. When you stop seeing the night as a barrier, it becomes a gateway. The lack of light is not darkness, it is quiet illumination. The absence of sleep is not failure. It is a chance to see how much of your identity is tied to control. Layers dissolve in the dark. The layers that usually protect the self begin to dissolve. And in that dissolution, you can watch what remains. What thoughts still loop? What fears still echo? What longings still persist? None of them are problems to fix. They are teachers to observe. Treat as sacred. Let your night be more than absence of sunlight. Let it be filled with attention. If sleep comes, let it come. If it doesn't, meet the moment the way a monk would, with care, with clarity, and with enough humility to learn from what's here. This aligns with foundations and bards. The path of awakening doesn't pause because the sun has set. It continues quietly, subtly, through every hour. In monastic spirit, wakefulness opportunities insight. Monks are trained to see time differently. You can take inspiration from this, not to copy their routines, but to recognize that your wakefulness is not meaningless. It can become a space for clarity, for insight, for freedom. The transcript affirms, the night is not empty. It is full of insights that only become visible when the usual mental noise has faded. The body, no longer pulled into tasks and roles, becomes still. And in that stillness, clarity emerges. Embrace monastic wakefulness, turn opportunity, cultivate presence, discover night's wisdom. Unified practice for whole rest, as the threads of patience, non-reactivity, internal kindness, and monastic insight weave together in the fabric of your night. What if embracing them as a single, unified practice could harmonize your entire being, turning fragmented wakefulness into a holistic embrace of rest that nourishes body, mind, and spirit alike? Imagine no longer compartmentalizing these qualities, but allowing them to flow as one, creating a seamless approach where every moment, sleepless or slumbering, becomes an integrated path to wholeness. In the culmination of Buddhist wisdom for the night, this unified practice draws from all prior teachings, blending them into a cohesive ritual that purifies, grounds, and liberates, ensuring that rest is not merely physical recovery, but a complete return to your essential nature, where peace pervades every layer of experience. The transcript synthesizes these elements into a comprehensive approach, reminding us that the night's potential lies in alignment. You've just seen how thoughts dissolve when you stop believing they're solid. What was once noise has turned to silence. Thought no longer commands the room, and in this space, something else begins to open. A unified practice unites patience, khanti, non-reactivity, internal non-harming, ahimsa in self-talk, and monastic wakefulness, creating whole rest regenerative, spiritual, encompassing waking and sleeping states. This practice is quiet, invisible, but it's transformative. And the reason it works is simple. It's aligned with how things truly are. It breaks isolation, turning night into teacher. To sleep like a Buddha is to let the night become your teacher. To listen, to soften, to rest, not just because you're tired, but because you trust the wisdom that arises in stillness. Begin with patience in sleepless moments, accepting wakefulness as process. Wakefulness is not failure. It is sensation. It is breath. It is stillness. Patience begins by releasing the timeline. Meet insomnia without demand, observing air's coolness or blanket's weight as anchors. This flows into non-reactivity, watching impulses without fuel. Non-reactivity is the key. A thought appears, you see it, you don't follow. In unified flow, patience provides space for non-reactivity. Rest in awareness. Let cravings or aversions pass. Each moment of non-reaction is a slowing. Each refusal to cling is a loosening. Layer internal, non-harming, softening self-talk that arises in restlessness. When the mind is restless or shame arises, your internal language must soften. This is hard, and I'm still here. Unified, this kindness tempers non-reactivity's observation. Notice harsh voice without judgment. Reframe compassionately. The more you observe inner speech, the more you see how impersonal it is. Let your mind become a place where compassion lives, not as a concept, but as a language. Patience holds the container, allowing gentle return without self-attack. Incorporate monastic wakefulness, embracing night as opportunity. If you wake in the middle of the night, you can choose not to panic. You are in a moment that monks have sought out for centuries. Unified, treat sleeplessness reverently, sit or lie with breath, reflect on qualities. Let the wakefulness become gentle. Let it be something you lean into rather than resist. Non-reactivity observes arising patterns, patience endures, kindness soothes inner commentary, monastic spirit infuses insight. The night is not empty, it is full of insights. Turn the bed into an altar. Breath unifies. The breath is your companion here. Each inhale is a new beginning, each exhale a release. Anchor in breath during transitions, blending foundations, body, sensations, feelings, tones, mind, states, dharmas, hindrances. Let the breath guide you. Let the body hold you. Let awareness stay not as watcher but as presence, as silence, as space. In sleeplessness, breath sustains non-reactivity. Use the body as your anchor. Inhale awareness, exhale release. This practice extends to dreams and waking, The habits of mind you bring into rest shape the quality of it. If you bring awareness, even loosely, even softly, something changes. Unified, it creates continuity. This also reshapes how you wake. When mindfulness is present at sleep's edge, it echoes into morning. You wake with more space, more clarity, more kindness. The momentum of awareness continues. Rest becomes whole, physical, emotional, spiritual, deep, regenerative rest. Not just physical, but spiritual. Over time, unified practice matures. The bed becomes a place of retreat, not escape, but return. A return to what's essential, what's real, what's alive in you, even in stillness. It softens daily stress. This shows up in subtle ways, in how you respond to stress the next day, in how your body feels after waking, in how you relate to thought not as a trap, but as passing weather. Peace endures. This is the kind of peace that doesn't leave when life gets loud, because it wasn't built on silence. It was built on seeing. Incorporate nightly. Reflect with patience. Observe non-reactively. Speak kindly, internally. Embrace monastically. Let this be your final act before sleep. When the heart softens, the mind follows. The transcript culminates. Rest well, sleep deeply, and return awake, aware, and whole. Unified practice 4.